Hey everyone, Lashaluk and Party Jams here again to talk about the latest chapters from Weekly Shonen Jump.
Yep. Hey guys.
Yeah,
So I think my overall thoughts for this week are some pretty good chapters, but a lot of setup chapters. I think this week in particular.
yeah, I was thinking that as well. That was kind of my feeling. But overall, I did enjoy the chapters this week. There were a few that particularly stood out for me, but we'll get into them when we get into them. So I think I think we should just start what we usually start with the newest series. So which one would you like to start with?
All right. Good question. I think a pretty good one to start out with this week might be Akane, just because I think that one is like a pretty simple one to go over.
Yeah. Akane would be pretty simple to go over. So yeah, let me just get it up. Akane, where are you? There you are. Right. So Akane, story 7, Kibata. I can't pronounce that word.
No, that's fine. I don't think I can either.
Yeah.
But I think one thing I want to note before we move on, just and a shout out to Shonen and Chill for actually pointing this out to me when on their review today. If you look on the panel, like below the first panel itself, we have a Rakugo supervision from I assume a professional Rakugo performer. So
Oh,
I kind
okay.
of like that little touch they have there. I know we had a stream for anybody who's watched our Doctor Stone stream where I talked about things I hope that future series will carry on that Doctor Stone has established. And I think one thing I didn't mention, which I could probably bring up now, is that I hope that more series will have things like supervision, like credits like this, because I think it's nice when manga reach out to experts because it adds more legitimacy to their story.
I really feel like that's something that a lot of manga could learn from as well. I definitely agree with that. But also, hi Anaba, nice to see you there. Hi Manga Alerts, glad you could make it. I'm very glad you could make it because you were saying on Twitter that you weren't sure if you were going to be able to make it, so glad you could. And it's me, the chaos. No, control chaos is the chaos, and reading is hard, Luke. I know.
All right, let's get
Uh,
started with the chapter, not
yeah.
properly.
So we start off with Akane's, I guess, new mentor. I guess that's the role he's sort of taking now.
Yeah, his senpai, basically,
Yeah,
Ryoji.
Ryoji. Basically, he sent Akane to work at Isakui Umi, and he's like, I've got a lot of travel jobs to do this week, and I can't take her along, so I thought this would be a good opportunity. And he apologizes to leaving her behind just after volunteering to take responsibility. But the master of the whole Ryoku operation that they're all a part of is like, don't worry about that. This could make things very well interesting. And of course Akane, being someone who's all about like my way of performing or no way is just really taking really not getting how to understand her audience by saying like, "Oh, welcome. Do you have a reservation?" And it's like, no, there's no reservation." And I just love that about her character. How she's like in her mind, she feels like, okay, I've learned this from this one place, so now I can mimic it, and she's absolutely terrible at that.
Yep, and I mean, basically, she kind of understands that she's here doing customer service to try to learn about Kibatakari. Yeah, I can't pronounce that either. I tried. Yeah, so basically, she understands the what she's supposed to do, or but she doesn't exactly know how to go about it. So she apparently spent some time doing some research to be a restaurant employee, but it comes off really awkward, and I love how they kind of portray that in the illustrations and the
Yeah,
thought bubbles.
yeah. Well, no, she didn't really do research. She was just like, I did a quick search online.
Okay, that's the equivalent version of research for her.
Yeah, the equivalent is like, how do I treat customers? It's like, okay, you must ask them what you must recommend stuff to them. Okay, I could do that. Hey, this dish is the finest dish. This dish uses only the finest mackerel caught in frugal pre-perfection, and uh, and just got these two customers here on page 3. I'm just like, oh, she's so overbearing. She's basically like that. Like, I feel like she's like that mother type character who's like, have you got enough potatoes? Hot potatoes? Is that hot enough for you? Do you want some? It's like, okay, well, good, we're fine.
Yep. And pretty soon after, and yes, Ann Arbor, I saw your comment. You are indeed the uncontrolled chaos.
Yeah,
And the manager calls her over, and at least I think this is the manager. He says, "Listen, I hate to nitpick, but aren't you coming on? Oh, he's the owner, a bit too strong." And she's like, "What? What do you mean? I do not understand this concept."
yeah. It's basically going back. Oh, everything's gonna come back to Doctor Stone. It's basically like the Y man in Doctor Stone of like, I don't understand why do you guys like be petrified. She's like this, like, I don't understand. I thought serving customers meant being cheerful and lively. I don't understand. I am doing this. Why is it so wrong?
Yep. And then so what I like about the boss character and the her, I guess, her senpai at work, is that they're actually very kind and understanding with her. I was honestly a little scared when she was coming to work here. I thought the customers were going to be very mean to her, and the people working there were going to be mean, and she was going to have to figure out things kind of by herself to make them less uh,
Yeah,
harsh towards her. But honestly, like they're all trying to support her, and what I like about it is, she's trying to say, okay, hang on, this is what the boss told me. What do you think, Hiragi? And she's like, oh, I don't think it's a bad thing to try, but maybe you don't have to give this 110% effort. Um, Instead, this isn't a sports competition. Just be chill about it.
yeah,
Kind
yeah,
of like, because usually in manga, like the big thing is always, give it 110%, which is kind of what Akane was saying, I think last chapter. But this time it's like, okay, but you need to chill. It's just a job. You just got to give them food.
yeah. Which is something I find really refreshing as well, because I really because like you said, I thought it was going to be like, oh my god, we're going to get like the over critical boss who's just not happy no matter what you do. And I'm glad they took it the other route of being the more supportive boss. But um but I get like what Higari is saying here. It's like, yeah, it's not a sports competition. Basically saying like, you don't need to like be forceful about it. Just relax, be yourself.
Hmm. And I think she realized pretty quickly that she's just kind of making the same mistakes, like you said, Luke. She's kind of trying to mimic what she's learned, but she's not really trying to understand people. And I think that was a good way to tie in the epitome of selfishness that Ryoji brought in last week. So I'm glad that Akane picked up on the lesson real quick, and that even when the boss finds her kind of like hiding out in the kitchen, he's just like, "Oh, hard first day. It's okay. I understand."
Yeah,
Ryoji kind of asked something unreasonable.
yeah.
Um,
But also as well, also as well, it's revealed that the reason why Ryuji like picked her is because he's a regular, and it turns out that he doesn't drink. He only orders orange juice, and this is where Carly starts to click. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's kind of cute, isn't it? Like the boss saying, yeah, that's kind of cute. So this is
yeah,
where,
which I can relate to because I don't drink alcohol much myself. So I
yeah,
would definitely be like Ryoji in this case.
yeah, I don't drink alcohol myself. Yeah. So then Akane asks the boss what she can do to perform keep a keep a Taraki to be considerate of others, because this won't even make scenes so if she can't do this, and she's like, yeah, failure's not an option. And then this is where the boss is like, yeah, actually there is something I learned from Rokugo, and he mentions that it wasn't a personal lesson or anything, but he always liked Rokugo. He attended playing performances, and he just happened to see this this master Shiguma. It's the master that they have. It's not, or is it the master that's the basically the big bad?
What? No, this is Shiguma. This is their teacher.
Oh yeah,
The one who taught her
yeah.
dad.
Yeah. It's just you just try to keep track of all the characters.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, we learned at the beginning of the chapter he was familiar with this restaurant owner. I think called him Hina-chan. So he knows the owner, and apparently he's performed for him. And apparently the owner learned a lot from Shiguma's performance and tried to use some of the things he learned from the performance into his restaurant customer service. And so, yeah, I thought that was like a nice touch. It kind of ties together maybe what Ryuji was thinking too. He probably heard about this and was thinking, oh, okay, this would be good for Akane.
Yeah, yeah. Also, I just want to quickly address before we continue Ann Arbor's comments. Why have you dropped Akane? That's the big question. And also
good for you, man. If you drink, I don't have too many friends who drink myself, so I can't really speak much more to it.
Yeah. But yeah, back to the story. We have the boss basically saying to Akane, like, if you want people to enjoy your story, you need to understand what they join and focus on the other person rather than putting yourself out first and foremost. So basically trying to say, like, look, you need to understand that everyone's going to be different. They're not going to like the same things that you like, and you've got to kind of figure out, like, okay, how can I incorporate that into my Ryoko, Rakugo, not Ryoku. But she's also still very young, so it's not worth agonizing over, and just try out the which I like. I like that positive message of, like, not expecting her to know and get everything right away, and it's going to take time and effort, but once she gets it, when she's a bit older and more experienced, she's really going to be a lot more professional and a lot more of a force to be reckoned with in this industry.
Yep, and also they point out that even if she messes up, she could just turn it into a hilarious Rakugo story, which is kind of true in this particular form.
Yeah.
So, yeah, then she thanks the boss for his advice, and then they have a customer unexpectedly who speaks Vietnamese.
Oh, was it Vietnamese?
Vietnamese, yes.
Oh, I did not. I was honestly not sure what language he was speaking.
Oh yeah, it was. And actually, let's see if I still have it. I tried to save some translations I found online before we had this, but basically, he's trying to make an order. I think he's trying to get some alcohol himself, which I guess not surprising considering the establishment. Hang on, I'll try to pull it up. But yeah, basically, the owner and senior worker, they don't know how to speak Vietnamese, so they're at a bit of a loss of what to do. And yeah, I've definitely, having been in the medical industry, I have definitely had patients who don't speak English, and then usually the way to go about that is either get somebody who knows how to speak the language, or the more technical thing you're supposed to do is find out who is, or call a phone line that'll actually translate for you with professional translators. Anyway, so the first thing he says is, "What's this dish?" That's what that translates to.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah.
But I will say it's funny that the next dialogue bubble says, "I don't think that's English," and I'm like, "Aren't you speaking Japanese?"
I know, right? It's like, I guess because they assume that all foreigners are English.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that is the case, but it's also just funny because I'm just like, why would English be like more likely than like another Asian language? I don't know. I'm not from Japan, so maybe there's just more English speakers.
Maybe it might be. Let me just check something. Top languages in Japan.
Cool. Well, you do that. Ann Arbor, just to address your comment. Okay, I guess the Rakugo premise didn't go for you. That's too bad. But yeah, I'm enjoying P6 as well. The last chapter was pretty good. Again, I think like a lot of chapters this week was much more of a setup chapter for future stuff, but it was still good.
How many people
And
speak?
while Luke's still looking up, I'll just keep going. So Akane, she like steps up and I think she tries to speak some kind of broken Japanese or something. She says hello, and then she tries to figure out from his body language what he's trying to do, and tries to understand like what his situation is from his eyes. And thinking, okay, he's not Japanese, so he probably can't read the Japanese menu that has like no pictures.
Yeah.
And so
So apparently, just to quickly point out, um, less than 30% are able to speak English. So I guess I don't know why they automatically assumed he was English.
yeah, I don't either. But that's fine. That's probably just something I lost in translation.
Yeah.
Either way, so then Akane um, decides, okay, I'm going to use my Rakugo skills to kind of explain to him what these menu items are. And what first one she kind of just mimicked or mimed, I should say, a beer pouring down, added in sound effects, and showing herself drink it. And then the Vietnamese response to that to bia means beer, meaning he understood what that was.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Buyer, as in like beer.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, and then Akani's like, yeah, you're getting it, you're getting it, and the boss is like, yeah, I think she's got this, and there's some Rokugo skills at work here. So what's this word? Yakitori. Tori.
Oh, I think that's just the name of the Japanese dish.
Oh, okay, all right. So he's saying it correctly.
Yep. And then the last thing he says after they give the dish, cho means wait.
Yeah,
And then
I,
pretty much just thank you after that.
yeah, he's trying to say arigato, but it's like ariato.
Well, yeah, which I did like that particular translation just because that does sound like broken Japanese, which is what he would be doing. Which
Yeah.
again, I feel like it would make more sense if they didn't make up the English comment because he's clearly trying to say Japanese words.
Mm, mm, yeah.
I don't know. I think we missed something there in the
We yeah we
dialogue.
yeah we did do we probably did miss something there. And then
Hey, comma.
Akane. What was that?
Oh, comma. He left a
Oh
comment.
oh come thank you. So that's what it is. Chicken skewers. Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Okay.
yakitori is.
Yeah.
So then, basically, she kind of is very proud of herself, and then her bosses praise her for what she did, and she's really happy. And then we kind of transition, I guess, through a time skip. That's basically what happened. And Sue and Ryoji came back, and I like how he just brought a present for him. Like, oh my god, thank you for looking after this girl. Got you something to compensate for your
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Like, listen, she was probably the worst. I'm sorry. Here's a gift I
Yeah.
brought back.
And then the boss is like, "Oh no, she was a huge help." And then and then he's like, "Oh well, then I'll have the usual." And of course, Akane, because she learns about this, is like, "Oh, here's your glass of orange juice," and um and then he's like, "Very considerate of you. Of course, Miku-chan's up being a good teacher, and yet she was able to find the answer she was looking for." And Ryuk, oh, I've messing up his name
Ryoji.
again.
It's fine.
Ryoji is saying like, "Oh, very well, you." Found your answer. Then I've got a gig in Tokyo next week,
Oh,
so you
sorry. Kyoji. I'm sorry. I kept saying Ryoji.
Kyoji,
I meant Kyoji.
Kyoji. And then it's like, oh, I've got a gig in Tokyo next week, next weekend. So you come in with me, and then you can learn, and then you can show me what you've learned. And Akane just gets like mega excited, mega excited. Like just the panel above that, like her eyes start to widen, and then she's like, "Yeah, I'm going to Tokyo."
Yeah, which is probably a pretty big thing, a Tokyo gig. It's probably gonna be a bigger venue than before. And yes, guys, that I agree. It was a strong chapter and a good first volume content because we're at chapter 7. So like now that we have the first volume of content, everything after this is going to be officially ranked in the magazine. So let's see how
Yeah,
Kanye does in the rankings.
yeah. And also speaking of volumes, it turns out that June is the month of new Jump series, because we've got like Duran Volume 2, Ayashimon Volume 2, Akane Volume 1, like PPP Volume 3, like they're all coming out in June.
Hmm. Okay, well, I mean, it'll be nice if there's no veterans to really compete against, because like Doctor Stone just ended, and I mean, I don't know if you've been paying attention to the last couple. Oh, you have been, I know, because you tagged me in a couple of them. But Doctor Stone and I think like Mashal are like the only, and I think maybe Blue Box are the only things that are like really ranking. All the new
Yeah,
series are not quite up there. Not even the ones that we are fans of.
yeah, yeah.
So it's going to be a
Um,
lot harder without Doctor Stone around.
yeah, it
And
is going to be a lot
eventually might
harder.
go.
Uh, yeah, here's the volume list for June. It's Mission Yosakura Volume 13, Ayakashi Volume 9, Michael
Mm.
Chan Volume 9, Mia Robocall Volume 8, High School Family Volume 6, Sakamoto Days Volume 7, Elusive
Yeah,
Samurai
Sakamoto Days
Volume
is a good.
Yeah, Elusive Samurai Volume 6, Witch Watch Volume 6, Blue Box Volume 5, Ayashimon Volume 2, Protect Me, Shugamaru Volume 2, Duran Volume 2, and then Akane and Earthchild Volume 1.
Interesting. Okay, that'll be a good way to kind of gauge where all this series are. I mean, Blue Box and Sakamoto Days are going to do great. And then, of course, I think you said Ayakashi was there too. It'll do pretty good as well.
Yeah,
I'm not too worried
yeah.
about that.
I
But it's
feel like,
everything. Oh, and Witch Watch, it'll do decent. I'm hoping it gets more growth,
yeah,
personally. But
I, I feel like Sakamoto Days and Elusive Samurai will probably take the top spot, and then it'll probably be Ayakashi and then Mission Yosakura.
yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, I think Blue Box will be definitely the top one from what you listed, and then it's either like Sakamoto Days probably, and then Ayakashi, then Yozakura. I think that'll be like the order. After
Yeah,
that, it's kind of hard to say because I think Witch Watch is the most likely. But then everything else, yeah, because yeah, Witch Watch has been out for a couple volumes, so it'll probably be then Witch Watch and then everything else.
yeah. So Sky said I'm 95% sure Akane is here to stay. Yeah, I can agree with that, but we'll just have to wait and see how well um, Japan's been taken to it. But I feel like because it's such a different kind of manga, I feel like it will have a good shot.
Yep. And anything more with Akane? I
Uh,
think now it's just kind of like hoping to see where it ranks. I mean, the
yeah,
prediction is just she's going to go do this gig in Tokyo, so I don't think there's anything else.
yeah. I, I'm I'm gonna guess, if I had to be realistic, I'd say sixth. I'd say sixth.
Yeah, I'm not really going to try to make a guess. I swear these things are unpredictable
Yeah.
with Japan. Uh,
So yeah,
but
that's
yeah, that was Akane. And Ann Arbor, I'm sorry you didn't enjoy it, but for at least for us, I think it's like one of our favorite of the new series. I
yeah,
think I honestly even like this more than P6. Because P6 actually took me a while to get into when they really started going to the sibling conflicts. And even then, I think Akane is just drawn and executed better. Plus, I feel like the other thing, and I guess is going a little into my P6 review, P6 also had, I think all the music stuff goes a little over my head still. They don't really explain a lot of it, but I also know that's not the primary purpose. They explore the elements that are relevant. But with this series, I guess similar to how Dr. Stone did science, this series is really explaining like the various aspects of Rocky, and I appreciate that. Well, I think P6 could do a lot more in explaining music, but that's a separate issue. I think in that way, Akane I think is a stronger series and it'll be easier to like build up popularity than P6. But unless music's already a big enough thing in Japan, I don't know.
yeah. And I'm just reading Sky's comment here. Six P has inconsistent pacing. There's a lot it could do better, but it's hit its stride now. And yeah, much as I didn't take to it, I feel like it is here to stay. P6.
Yep, and I agree, Skyzed, with what you said.
But yeah, since you guys are here, so like Karma, Manga Alerts, Ann Arbor, Sky said, if you want to pick which series we talk about next, you can do.
Yeah, we usually do like the new ones first, but it honestly, now that Dr. Stone's over, we can kind of just do whatever order we want.
Yeah, we can do it in whatever order we feel like.
But since we have like an audience, we want to talk about the series you guys are talking about. Like Ann Arbor probably didn't really care for our Akane talk, for example.
Yeah. I like P6 because it's not explaining everything to me, but that's because I already know that stuff and don't want to hear it again. Oh, okay, so you already play the piano.
Yeah, and I think that there is some validity there, but at the same time, I think for a magazine where you're probably going to talk to a lot of people who don't know things, because in a battle manga, they explain everything because the combat's not there. And maybe for a lot of sports series, they can kind of get away with it just because there's so many sports series in manga in general that people, because like what's it was called, the balloon, Cooloon's balloon, whatever, the baseball manga, they got axed. That one didn't do much explaining for baseball itself, almost as if it just expected people to know baseball. But I feel like that's part of the reason it kind of sank down because it was hard to follow a lot of its talk. But I understand why they decided to go that route. But I will say for someone like me, who I'm reading, seeing all this music stuff, I appreciate the fans that are actually explaining in threads like what's going on. Because I'm like, okay, thank you guys. I did not understand all these subtle little things that the mangaka does because I can't appreciate it if they don't explain it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Anna. But okay, cool. Your sister taught you to play the piano. Cool. That's very nice of her. Yeah. Not many siblings would probably do that. But yeah. Sky said, get Dora and Ayashimon over with. Okay, so I guess we're doing Doran, and Ayashimon because I guess we'll do Ayashimon first because it's the easiest one because ironically,
I agree.
Last chapter I was complaining about having too much dialogue. This chapter it was like the author watched our stream and thought, oh, he wants less dialogue. Okay, I'll give him less dialogue.
Yeah. And yeah, I agree, guys. That baseball manga did not turn out well. I think it had promise from the premise, but it did not have the proper execution for it.
Yeah, I skimmed through that manga and that baseball manga, and I wanted it to survive just because I liked that female character, just because she was so lively.
Yeah, I didn't really care for her too much. I mean, she was okay.
All right.
But yeah, and I'll talk more about Skyzet's comments on the number of chapters for this series, Ayashimon Duran once we get there.
Yeah. Anyway, let me get up Ayashimon. Okay, there we go.
Great. So we have Ayashimon. Just writing down the time.
Okay.
Great. So we have Ayashimon, chapter 17, Welcome, which is kind of interesting because of what happens here and kind of feels like the start of a new thing.
Yeah, so it also based on the area of the chapter, it feels endgamey, if you get what I mean.
Possibly. We'll talk more about that when we get near the end because like the sales are not doing so great for this series, but at the same time, who knows? We've seen weirder things last, but I'm not holding out hope for an action series with those numbers we've been seeing.
Yeah. Considering Mia Roboco is beating it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Ann Arbor, another series he drops. Okay, sorry, man, we're not talking about the series you're reading, but yeah, feel free to honestly suggest like what you want us to talk about next. We'll try. I mean, we might do Duran if you don't have anything, but if you do, let us know because I don't want you to just be sitting here listening to us talk about stuff you're not even reading.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we kind of continue where we left off last time, where Maru is just punching the water. I think this was a dam.
It was a fountain. It was meant to be a fountain, but it kind of looks like a dam.
Oh yeah, it was a fountain. You're right. This is a really big fountain. But anyway, yeah, he's punching it out to get the waters to soak Kotan. And then immediately Kotan was going to escape. And for a second, I'm like, no, I don't want this to just end this fight already. And then luckily Moro just like heard me through my frustration, grabbed him with his bloodied hand from punching. And I love the way they actually showed that. This was the hand he punched the fountain with. And then he pushed Kotan back into the fountain and just got him nice, well soaked. So
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, great. This fight's over. Thank you.
yeah, it is. And of course, Kota says like, "Oh, I'm soaked up so much where I can barely move." Obviously, because it's made of cloth, and if cloth soak up water, they become heavier, so they can't move.
Yep.
And then it looks like Maru is going to punch him, but he eventually stops and is like, "Oh, your goal may be to completely crush us, but we aren't out to crush you. Our goal is to never lose again, even if we don't win. Even if we don't win, we won't lose." Okay, Maru, how stupid can you be?
I mean, the only thing that's left is a tie. I'm assuming that's what he was trying to say.
Yeah,
And
but
Arbor, just to address your thing, I'm assuming you're talking about Ashiman when you said it's like a worse version of Mashal. I don't know if I'd agree with that. I mean, because Mashal is more like a mix of like Harry Potter and One Punch Man and things like that. This series is trying to be more of a Yakuza like series. But I do understand, like, in the sense of like Maru being a character who can like just punch everything to into submission pretty quickly. So I see what you're saying, but I feel like this story, like Mashal, of course, had much more world building established very early on, while this series has some, but hasn't been kind of digging into the lore as much. But at the same time, I think the series has its own merits with its characters, and honestly, it feels like it has more character depth than Mashal does. But that's a whole different uh, discussion. Okay, anyway, continuing onwards, Katon's amused and says, okay, you win this one, Ura gang. And then Ura just shows up there. And Mara's like, hey, I actually had fun with this fight because it was a struggle for me. And I'm like, yes, I also enjoyed how you struggled in this fight, Maru.
yeah,
I'm glad you didn't just beat this really quickly.
yeah, and then he immediately passes out. Yeah,
Yep.
and Kota is like, "Oh, I've seen enough human car wrecks to know really if he's dead or not, but he's just unconscious, and he's pretty important to you, and you run a good gang, and those some damn big wings you've got Maru." As we cut to Maru in a flashback as a little kid, just trying to figure out like, okay, how can I make this punch really really strong so that it punches the wall? And then he sees his future self just punching the wall so hard that it just shatters away. So I guess what is this meant to imply?
I mean, I think this is just like him reaching that goal of wanting to be a manga character that he's always dreamt of being. Again, it gave me Chainsaw Man vibes, where we see kind of like childhood versions of the characters inside their own heads. That's kind of how I took it.
Oh my god, I've just noticed something.
What's that?
If you look on page 10,
Yeah, I'm
uh,
on page
and,
10.
and you see the backpack behind Maru in the
Mm-hmm.
flashback, it has an M on it. Like
Oh,
the handles
yeah,
sort
yeah.
of like make an M.
Oh, okay. I see. I see. Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't notice that.
yeah, I just noticed that as well. So, pretty neat detail there. Yeah, but then we
Yeah,
come
I
back.
think there's also some manga references in page 11 that I am not a big enough manga fan to know what those are, but cool for
I
whatever they're referencing.
guess that's meant to be Captain Tsubasa or something like that. Like, or which is a football series, or it might. No, that's a baseball series. So I don't know what
There's a lot
baseball.
of baseball series that
Yeah,
can be anything, but it's fine. Yeah, basically, there's probably some references that I'm pretty sure some older veteran manga fans would probably have a better, easier time figuring that out.
yeah,
But yeah, then Maru just wakes himself up and finds that he is riding a motorcycle. And I like how they tied him to the second in command. I forgot his name. I think was he a robber or something?
I think so.
Okay, well, whatever his name was, he's like tied to him, so he won't fall off while he's asleep. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and
Um,
then, And then we have Ten there as well, and he's like, "Oh, hey, big brother, you're awake, you're awake." And of course, Uru's there as well, and Kota was like, "Oh yeah, I told her not to talk, or she'd bite her tongue." So I guess she's taking it literally. So like, she's literally not talking at this point, and more mumbling like, mm. But
Yeah, that's a really cute moment. I love
yeah,
it. And Skyza, thanks for the play ball. I'm trusting you on that one because you seem to be an expert on these things more than I am. So
okay, all
well,
right,
might be what they're referencing.
yeah,
So yeah, then Kotan does the typical, "Oh, you won this time, but you won't get lucky next time." And then, of course, they start getting in each other's faces with the whole rival character thing, where it's like, "Huh, I'm gonna beat you next time." It's like, "Ha, no, I'm gonna win." And then second in command's like, "Guys, stop it already. We need to move on. We need to move on from this." And so then anyway, Koton agrees, like, "Yeah, okay, so you won this one. So then now, as of tonight, all 2,000 riders of the Todoroki Alliance are on your side." I kind of forgot they were called that for a second. And yes, guys, that it's okay if that's a complete guess. That's better than anything we have. Honestly, for me, it could just be a generic baseball manga that's just referencing that baseball manga exists.
yeah.
So I believe ball's as good a guess as any.
Yeah, I really don't know much many baseball series. There's only like two I know of.
Yeah, same. And I'm pretty sure it's not neither of them.
No,
Uh, so anyway, so Kotan says, "Welcome to our speed, miss." And Mara's like, "I don't know what that means." And I'm with you, Mara. I don't know what that means either. Is that supposed to be a thing motorcycle people say?
I
Welcome
guess
to our
I
speed.
guess it's made. Yeah, welcome to our speed. So like, yeah, I think it's him saying like, "Oh, you're going to be on motorcycles from now on, so better get used to it."
I guess so. I mean, that is true. Anyway, Ten is having the time of his life, having excited to be on motorcycles, and then Waku's like, "This is after you trashed all our
Yes,
motorcycles."
yes.
Oh
Oh,
man, but I do like how they don't give Ten too hard of a time because it's like he still won. So in the Ayashimon world, he's kind of like above them because he won. That's how I interpret this.
yeah.
That's how
That
I interpret this.
yeah, pretty much. And then we have Colt, the second in command says, "You're not getting a free ride out of this, but it's hard for others to overhear us while we're running full throttle." So yeah, they're gonna have a conversation so that nobody can hear them, and they're gonna tell them what happened about the Emma Syndicate 2 years ago, and Coulter explains that yeah, I exchanged Sharpie cups with old man Kyle, but when he kicked the bucket, there was no reason for me to be around anymore, because the Emma Syndicate today is no Yakuza guy. They're just a bunch of pack of folks, especially with him in charge. Before we cut to the Emma Syndicate, where we see, I guess, the big boss of the Emma Syndicate, what was referred to as him, getting his throat cut up by Dopa.
Yeah, basically, I assumed that this was their treasure or something. I kind of got that vibe from him, but he's basically one of the older members of the Edma Syndicate who stuck around, and he's like basically threatening him. I'm not entirely sure why though.
Hmm.
Anyway, so basically, he's saying that the I guess the group needs restructuring. I guess he's just in a bad mood after finding out that Ura is alive, and so then he basically just takes this guy out, even though the guy's like, "You have no honor," traditional Japanese things, saying things about honor and whatnot and seniority. And Dopo's like, "No, for me, it's all about merit, and I don't need you guys around." And because the way he says, "Can you maybe not trot that old chestnut out?"
Yeah,
Yeah, basically, he's just, I guess, seizing power completely. That's basically all that's happening, I think.
yeah.
And then
And
we end the chapter with Kotan saying, "Okay, I'll tell you what I know about what happened with Kyo, the Enma Syndicate, and that kid Dopo." So next time is the backstory chapter.
Yeah, which makes me again feel like this is setting up Endgame vibes because we're getting Dopa's backstory at this point.
Yeah, and it could be because we were saying if the next thing they do is go confront Dopo, it feels like they're rushing to the end. But at the same time, what could potentially happen, and maybe this is just me holding out hope the series survives, they could go into the backstory and then learn something from the backstory that'll help them figure out what their next move should be, which might be to go find one of the other old members of the Edma Syndicate and get and recruit them. So, like the two ways they could go is one after we have some backstory, which could potentially be multiple chapters. I don't know how long they want to do this, but if it is after that, we'll probably either go fight Dopo or we're gonna go get one of the other Enma Syndicate members, and depending on which direction, will kind of signal me where the series is going. So I'm not ready to call it just yet, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Apparently, Sky said, yeah. Here's the comment he said. I can see Ayoshimon and Doran ending in 4 to 5 chapters.
Yeah, and for this one, like if we get a Dopo, let's say backstory next week, and then we go deal with him next chapter after that, then theoretically within the next couple more chapters we could end the series if it's actually going to get axed. I could see that. It would be rushed, of course, but all axe series, well, not all, but most axe series end up kind of unnaturally ending. I think the only ones I felt got somewhat decent endings were probably like a Gravity Boys and depending on whether or not it was axed or not, I'm not too sure. Hard Boiled Cop and Dolphin, but that one might have just ended naturally. It's kind of safe.
8 chapters max if they were to be cancelled. Okay, fair enough. Yeah,
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 8 chapters I could see. 2 months, yeah,
yeah.
sure.
But yeah, Ayoshima has just been like at the back so much. I'm just like, it seems to be like they've been told that they've got to change something about it, and they didn't, and it's just suffered. And the numbers don't lie. The volume numbers don't lie. I mean, 2000 this week, like that wasn't good enough for an action series.
Yep. So we'll have to see. And yeah, Sky said I also enjoyed both those series. Although I will say Hard Boiled Cop got a little too drawn out near the end, I felt, but I don't. I think the author was just given the leeway to tell the whole story he wanted, so I just allowed that to happen because I think the story is okay. I just didn't really like how it was ultimately told, but that might have just been due to the circumstances. But that's right, Gravity Boys. If there's one canceled series that somehow Shonen Jump is like, okay, we'll give this canceled series an anime, it would probably be a Gravity Boys because there's more than enough material.
Yeah. Well, also Mago-chan they could give an anime.
Oh yeah, well no, but that one didn't get canceled. That one just ended naturally.
Yeah. So they
And
could
it's like,
potentially give it an anime.
yeah, that one totally could. But I mean, because like I don't know if you saw this, but there was like I think a tweet made by the unofficial Shonen Jump account, and I believe Magu-chan was like near the top of the most some surveys most wanted to be adapted to an anime. So
Okay.
Japan loves Magu. I could totally see that being an anime, but that series ended naturally. I meant a series that basically got
Oh,
canceled. That would be a
okay. All right. Okay.
yeah,
Yep.
and I Dolphin. Okay, yeah, I could see because Dolphin did have like it felt like an arc or two cut out that they set up. So I think it got axed, but it's kind of weird because the last arc felt so long and like almost like a natural conclusion that I wasn't able to tell. So if it did get axed, props to the mangaka and Shonen Jump for giving it enough time for it to at least have a natural ending.
Yeah. And also, no, Sky said, I'm sorry, but you're not Dolphin's biggest fan. Axel Blade, that is, he is Dolphin, Harbour Copper Dolphin's biggest fan, considering his profile pic is the Dolphin.
Okay, so and I do trust you on that because I did not analyze that series too much, but I will read some of the mangaka's previous work because I've heard good things.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess
Duran then?
Duran is next. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough, Sky said. Fair enough. Um, it's always nice when you have. I mean, I'm always happy to see that there were other fans of Big Gravity Boys because I think there are a lot of people who weren't too into that series, but I was loving it. I love the comedy of that series. Um, and let me just write down the time. Okay, cool. And guys, feel free to suggest like series we'll talk about after Duran Duran, because
Yeah.
I know you got here a little later.
So anyway, like with Ayoshimon, we pick up from the ending of the last chapter where we have oh, what was his name again?
Um, Ichihia.
Ichihia being picked up by the Mononoke and the Mono.
Tenimon. This is the one that's like a
Oh,
Digimon.
oh yeah, Teddymon, Teddymon.
Hey,
So,
Hayes. Glad you could make it.
sounds like Teddymon.
Yeah, I think we were saying how much fun it is just Terriermon. And yep, we
Yeah.
just hit Duran Duran. So you came at a good time. We just finished up Akane and Ayashimon. Those are the two series you had missed out on, Hayes. And like I said, feel free to suggest what we talk about after Duran Duran. Anyway, so yeah, so then Tenemon is about to eat Ichihia, and then like immediately he bites down. He was saying something about how the taste of blood gets him excited, and then we see all this blood splatter. But then immediately we learn the next page. Wait, it was my own blood.
Yes. So I
And
guess
that's really disturbing.
that is disturbing because it's like, oh my god, you know what that reminds me of? It reminds me
What?
of a Robot Chicken sketch with a gummy bear where the gummy bear got trapped in a bear trap and had to eat its leg off to get out, and he was like, and they were like, I taste delicious.
Okay. Because yeah, the dark comedy in this series is fun.
Yeah.
And also a couple of comments. Like I think Kama brought up something about Record of Ragnarok. Maybe you can make
Uh,
sense of that
Ta-
one because I don't read
Ta-
Ragnarok.
Tamon like Record of Ragnarok. What do you mean by that? Because I don't remember like a Tamon in Record of Ragnarok. Yeah, you're gonna have to explain what that is, Karma.
Yep.
My
And then
opinion.
over my opinion. Oh yeah, we're
Yeah,
reading the
yeah.
same thing.
You go ahead. You go ahead and read
Yeah,
it.
my opinion, Duran Duran, it's like Monster 8. I think you mean Kaiju number 8 for that, but more for teenagers still like though. Yeah, I think Kaiju number 8, what it focuses on, I think, is more like the standard Kaiju story where there's like in organizations and giant monsters. Well, this is more akin to like a Demon Slayer monster hunting kind of series, or even like Bleach with the Hollows. Kaiju number 8 is definitely much more akin to Godzilla kind of like stories, except we don't have too many like I guess aliens and other weird sci-fi nonsense that usually Godzilla brings up. But I think the big difference is like Kaiju number 8's definitely done artistically to a much higher level, like a significantly higher level. But I think story wise, it has more planned, but I don't know how to put it because I would say like I'm having more fun with Duran Duran than Kaiju number 8. But Kaiju number 8 story wise has so much more potential. But it just started getting to that potential with the recent arc. That's the best way I can put it.
Okay.
And yeah, so then I think Kama's trying to clarify some stuff. I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah.
what
Oh,
it is.
yeah. I know who you mean now, Karma. Like the big sumo guy who fought Shiva in Record of Ragnarok. So yeah, I know who you mean now.
Oh, okay, cool. Great.
Yeah. Uh,
Let's get back to the chapter. Basically, we see Toma or Toda, however you prefer. He gets Ichihia out of the Tenemon's grip immediately, which ticks him off. So he punches the ground really hard. Dora, of course, dodges it. And immediately they realize the wound basically did nothing to him. And Ichihia is severely hurt. Yuji rescued the other two officers and tells Toma to evacuate them. Uh, and then let's see. Okay, then Yuji's about to go and fight the two Mononoke. But interesting, he also still points out that humanoid Mononoke are rare, which I think we've heard before. But I'm glad this is like a sign that Yuji's piecing together. Okay, something's not right here.
yeah.
These things are already rare, and now two of them are together here. I think he knows something's up, which will be
Yeah.
important I think, later down the line.
What?
And yes, and I'm glad you agree with me. Duran Duran is more fun reading because I honestly thought I was digging myself a hole there because I know Kaiju number 8's way more popular, like insanely popular.
Yeah. Like
But
it's recently been announced for an anime.
theoretically, I there's been questions about whether or not that source is right. But here, I'll tell you something, Luke. If it's that anime announcement is true, I'm a little worried because that series is not ready for an anime just yet. Like it may have just had like the proper chapters and stories to tell an anime. Because like I was telling my friends, like, hey, you guys can give this a try, but honestly, not much of the story has started yet. So I'm
Okay.
kind of worried if that's getting an anime.
Mm,
Like at right now, like later down the line, absolutely, it's going to look amazing, but it's a little early.
yeah. Um. So yeah. I was gonna
Oh, and
say
I guess
like
Hayes is also in agreement. Oh, sorry.
yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say like given the fact that this is such a rare phenomenon that's happened, what if it has something to do with the semi corpse themselves like they they what if these humanoid Mononoke are actually humans themselves?
Huh, that is interesting. I mean, the next page, of course, brings up like why they're potentially doing all this because this Kanbei who he met last time, he was talking about he was instructing Yoshihime that don't forget our cause, don't just fight this guy on your own, lure him to us. So there's definitely a distinct reason that they have teamed up together and that they're going after this organization.
Yeah, but
It could be.
yeah, but the thing is, this Yoshihima, not Yoshi, yeah, the female one, her name's Yoshihima, isn't it? Or
Yeah, you're right. It's on
yeah,
page
yeah,
five.
she looks way too humanoid, like eerily too human in that panel.
Yeah, and that would be an interesting twist if there was like some connection with these human Mononosuke, because like at first when we first met them, I was thinking they were more akin to the Espada, where the Espada, the Hollows basically just naturally evolve into an Espada like form, which happens to be human because Hollows come from humans, so to speak. But it could be that there's something more sinister behind it if they're after their organization specifically. Because like the Espada didn't even bother with Soul Society until Aizen came into play.
Yeah,
But these guys, they're out to destroy this group, so they have like vengeance on the mind, I think,
yeah.
or something.
It's funny how going back to Bleach quickly, how if Aizen wasn't in the story, like what would the Hollows be doing?
I mean, yeah, Aizen was technically Aizen directed the entire story. That is the plot of Bleach.
Yeah,
So yeah, that is like a very hard question to answer, honestly, because like if
um,
it wasn't for Aizen, so much wouldn't have happened, frankly.
yeah,
Oh, an
frankly.
anime lately, I think, is trying to say hi to you.
Oh, hi, Anime Lately. Uh, thanks for joining us.
And yes,
I
Ann Arbor, I do know Eisen did create a lot of the Espada. I meant more the older Espada that were there before he came in. But yeah, I just meant that the Hollows weren't acting like in an organized fashion before Eisen came in. While the Mononoke, we know that there's a Mononoke world similar to the Hollow world, but they are actively going against this group. So they're not just like out there like, oh, we need to defend for ourselves and get food to eat. They have a purpose, they have a cause they're driven for that's actually driving them to come together for some reason.
yeah. So then we have Yoshihima telling Yuji like, "Oh, if you follow me because if you don't, we'll kill all the hostages." And yeah, and Dora's like, "Oh, go ahead, Mister Yuji. We can handle." No, Kusanagi is saying, "Go ahead, Mister Yuji. We can handle this." And then we have Ishi. Oh,
Ichihi.
Ichihiya saying like, "Oh no, you can't. The Morocco team couldn't take him, and there were three of us." And then Yuji is
Yuji
like,
says, fine, you deal with it.
yeah. And then Dora's like, "Yeah, on it." Uh, he, uh, and then he's like, "Oh no." They can't do it, and you're just like, oh, don't worry about it. I'm sticking my reputation on this. To Toma, Toyma, Dora, and Kusanagi are a strong crew, and they're gonna show us what superheroes they are. And they're like, yeah, we've got this. Before we have Tainemon, drinking Milkshake. That's right. It's definitely milkshake.
Are we just not allowed to say sake or something?
Now, now I'm doing it because in the dub of Digimon, they were like, there was a scene where one of the characters was feeding a Digimon sake, but they called it
Oh,
milkshake. So I
ah,
was just trying to make that reference there.
got it, got it. Man, it's been a while. I've been rewatching some like Digimon Tri-Bridge recently. That's
Oh,
hilarious stuff for anyone interested. But anyway, continuing onward. Yeah, so Tenemon, like apparently whenever he drinks sake, it kind of seems to heal him a bit, which is kind of interesting. I guess they're just giving this alcoholic some alcohol-based powers or whatever. And so then he immediately like makes fun of Kusanagi, like, "Oh, a tame Mononoke acting like a human pet. How pathetic." And then immediately he's like, "No, that's not how it is. We're partners." And then Dora interrupts, saying, "No, we're friends." And then we have this moment where Kusanagi's like, "Friends? I have an actual friend now." And I'm just like, and I know some people found this moment really sweet, but I'm like, aren't we past this point,
yeah.
Kusanagi?
I thought we were past this point.
Because like, didn't you like just say last chapter, man, I have so many friends now, which I was happy for him. But I'm like, how are you so surprised Dora is saying that? Like if
Yeah,
it was some other character, I might be like, okay, cool. But this is Dora. At this point, you're like, wait, we're friends.
I guess he was more.
That was a bit much.
I guess it was more like in that moment he was just excited, and then now he's sort of like calmed down and thought like, nah, they're not really my friends. And then I feel like he just needed clarification from Dora more,
I guess.
because I feel like he's probably one of those characters who feels like if I don't keep hearing it, they're gonna not be my friend anymore.
Oh yeah, I have met people like that, and that could be the case. And if it is the case, I kind of wish they clarify that a bit more. But continuing onwards, then we have Tenemon being like, I don't care. I haven't lost a fight to human or Mononoke. He just does the sumo style slamming move. Um, and then he basically is like, well, okay, I'm just going to have to kill you and then eat you because it'll be take too long because he's trying to get back to the castle. Because the plan for the human Mononoke, I don't think the group has a name. The plan for their group is to individually lure the samurai officers and then gang up on them. And it's a pretty good strategy, all things considered. So Tenemon wants to finish this up quickly. And so then he's like going at them full power. And I was a little confused here because it looks like Dora is saying, "Let Kusanagi, let's do this." But in the next panel, it guess it was Toma who was actually charging in.
Yeah, I guess I'm just trying to think. No, that's it's. Let me go. Let
Because
me go.
then the next page after that, like we go from 12 to 13, we see someone get blasted back, and then Dora says Toda, and then
I
so it's like
guess.
Toda was the one who got launched back.
I
So I think
guess.
Toda is the one who took the brunt of that.
I guess so. I get. I guess Taemon just sort of like thought made them think. Oh, they think I'm going after them too, but I'm actually going after this guy.
Oh, it could be. It was just a little confusing for me in that
Yeah.
moment, but the entire point is that Tenemon was surprised that Toda actually even was able to stop him in his tracks, and then was even more surprised as soon as he got back up, basically Asta style, going mada mada.
Yeah.
And then he points out to Dora because Dora is also shocked. He's like, "Yeah, of course I'm okay. You know how tough I am." And he's like, "Oh yeah, that's a good point. I kept punching you, and you kept coming back
Yeah.
every day." And so basically, if Dora is like the offensive style fighter, Toda is more like a defensive style, I guess.
Yeah.
Basically, sword and shield kind of thing they go
Yeah.
on, which is a nice duo.
Yeah. And then Toda says, when it comes to gutsiness, no one can beat me. And he goes Super Saiyan. I mean, unleashes his Mononoke spiritual energy.
Yep.
And uh,
Although I will
Taemon.
say, I am the fact that
Go ahead.
Ichihi is surprised in the next page. He's like, I had no idea he had so much supernatural energy. I'm like, what do you mean? He literally showed us the number like
Yeah.
2 chapters ago, I think.
I guess he was more interested in Dora
I
and
guess so.
Kusanagi. Yeah. Um,
Um, But
So that
yeah, so then he basically Tenemon's excited because I guess people with more supernatural energy are tastier or something. Um, but anyway, Dora and Kusanagi. Sorry, Toma says Dora Kusanagi. Let's go with the plan. So, what did they come up with the plan?
I guess they did.
Okay, so we don't know what the plan is, but apparently it requires them to all trust each other, which is kind of all they're reaffirming next. So I don't know what the plan is, but I guess they have like a setup plan, which we'll find out next chapter.
Yeah.
Because then Dora immediately powers. Well, technically, I guess Kusanagi is the one giving Dora the supernatural energy, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we see on page 18, which I love the artwork for that one. Probably my favorite for the chapter.
Oh yeah, definitely. Um,
And
and
then
then we
he has the surprise. It's like, you have even more energy than even Toda does. And I'm like, yeah, dude, we saw
yeah,
the
you
numbers.
saw. Is this guy just such a blind fanboy that he doesn't read the numbers?
I think I think he's supposed to be like the audience insert where he's supposed to give us a gauge of their power levels, but also it's like the author showed it to us. So I feel like this is a little repetitive for if for just for people who weren't paying attention and can't do basic math. But yeah, that's the one thing I will say did take me out of this chapter because this is the moment where we see our two characters, Dora and Toda, basically saying, "Oh, we're the two young teenage. Well, I think they're teenagers. They're both teenagers,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. They're both teenagers.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So the two young teenagers that are like, okay, our power levels are way stronger than the adults who just fought this thing. So that's how the two of us are gonna win.
Yeah,
And then we need to have like a character again, kind of actually similar to Mashal, where we have a character on the audience saying, "Oh man, they're so powerful," on the sidelines. Eh, I don't know. It's not a trope I'm particularly a fan of, but I know why it's there.
fair enough, fair enough. And then we have Tamon saying, "Oh, you're more than a stack. You're a banquet."
Yep.
Which
And then
I don't want to know. I don't want to know what a main course is.
probably a samurai officer, I would think.
Probably, but yeah, that's where we end the chapter. So I guess next chapter we're just going to focus on the fight between these three.
Yeah, we're gonna see what their plan is. Maybe we'll also see a little bit of Yuji um, facing Yoshihime and the other human Mononoke in the castle. So
Yeah,
that's probably what will happen. And again, going back to I think what this guy said 5 chapters for this series. I would have a hard time believing that one just because we're in the middle of like a kind of a big thing. So if they did 5 chapters, it would feel extremely awkward.
yeah, it
Um,
would.
and we still don't have the first volume sales for
No,
this series yet, so we're gonna have to wait and see how that works out.
yeah,
Although I will say, of course, the rankings for this series and Ashimon have both have been pretty bad, so not
yeah,
looking good.
not looking good, not looking good. But I think it might be a case of like half the audience wants Jinchio in the series and half the audience doesn't want her in the series.
Yeah, I did when I was going on Reddit looking to see if people think of the chapters. I did notice some people were saying, "Hey, where's Jinchio?" And then some people are like, "Yeah, she just kind of got written out because people didn't like her." And I'm like, "Well, I mean, I didn't like her at first either, but she grew on me pretty quickly." So
Yeah,
I mean, I would like to have her back, but I don't think she's going to be back for this arc. It'll probably be the next one if she didn't get written out completely.
yeah. Unless it turns out, big twist, she was the bad guy all along.
Yeah, that would feel kind of awkward. I mean, I get that there's a connection between the head of the organization, her grandfather, and her, but I don't see that working unless they wanted to build up to that or something.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just throwing an idea out there. But yeah. Anyway, so yeah, you guys, if it doesn't get cancelled, she'll come back. Yeah. Nah, Chichio is coming back. Oh, we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, you guys, if you want to let us know what series you want us to talk about next, you can write in the comments. So, got quite a big audience tonight, bigger than what we normally get. So, um, story only really just started in Kaiju number 8 with 12 episodes. It wouldn't even get to the beginning of the story, to be honest. Is that true? Like, if
That
it's
is quite true. Yep, and that's what I was saying before. Like, even if we had like a 12 episode anime, we would only get like the first like 2, 3 arcs, which is barely just which basically is the protagonist coming into his abilities, then joining the group, and then like the first big fight or whatever, and meeting the big bad. That would just be it. That'd be the first season. And then like
okay.
the next season would just be like if they did 12, the next season would just be some more big fights and some fun, maybe a fun twist here or there, and then his secret protagonist secret being revealed. That would just be season 2. It would just be so incredibly slow. They would need to do like a 2 core first season to get at least enough of the story to be anywhat satisfying, in my opinion.
Okay. Sky said just go. Ann Arbor said just go from right to left. Okay, we can do it that way. Rex
Uh,
Rex said sad we can't talk about Dr. Stone. Yeah, it is sad. It is sad, Rex, but that's why we have other series to kind of get through that pain. I just read the Witch Watch chapter. Oh my god, I
let's
want to
talk
talk.
Witch Watch.
I want to talk about the Witch Watch chapter
So
because it
do
was, if I was going to pick my chapter of the week, it would probably be this one.
I mean, for me, it would still be Sakamoto Days. That series has been killing it recently, which is a kind of a funny way of putting that. But yeah, Sakamoto Days probably like up there. Like if I had to rank my favorites in the manga right now, Jutsu Kaisen's the top. Yozakura's up there too, along with Sakamoto Days and Witch Watch, and maybe Mashal for number 5. I don't know.
Oh,
My
Blue
Hero
Ball.
hasn't been doing it.
Yeah,
Oh,
Rex.
we don't do much Blue Box anymore. If my quick thoughts on Blue Box, honestly, I thought this week was very cliche. It was like because Blue Box has done a lot of weird things, but it's at least been kind of unique romance wise. But this chapter was just straight by the script, and I was like, wow, that was
Yeah,
boring.
yeah. I really wasn't feeling this week's Blue Box as well, to be honest. But anyway, Witch Watch. I absolutely adore this chapter. Um, so yeah, we're just gonna get right into it. So we have everyone just waking up in a room, and I was just like, when I first saw it, I was just like, did we miss a chapter or something?
Same, same.
Yeah, and then we have them with masks on their faces, and they're like, can't eat no more. Um, that's a cliche thing to mumble in your sleep. I'm
And
just
it's
like,
true. I just
yeah,
love that opening line because that's the first thing anime characters say when you're like, "Oh my god, are you alive?" And it's just like, "Oh, I can't eat anymore." Why does all anime characters dream of food when they're asleep?
yeah,
Sky said Blue Box has been solid lately. IMO, it fell off a little for a few months ago. I mean, I will say it's like the recent chapters in general have been good. I love what they're doing with Hina and Taki specifically, but this week's chapter particularly, I just did not like very much because it just felt like the most cliche romance beach visit thing ever. Oh, yo, Project Manga showed up.
oh,
Hey guys,
welcome, Project Manga. Thank you for joining us. Oh,
you just got
I'm just gonna say, we're not worthy, guys. We're not worthy to be in your presence.
yes, thanks for showing up, whoever's running the YouTube channel. I caught a little bit of the stream this afternoon, but our stream times usually conflict, so I couldn't see most of it.
Yeah,
But yeah, glad you guys are here. We just, for anyone who just joined us, we just talked about Akane first, Ashimon, Duran, and now we're on Witch Watch.
yeah. So yeah, anyway, back to Witch Watch. So they're in this room, they've all got masks on, and they're like, "Oh, I don't remember what happened. There's no clues here. We must be carried here while we're sleeping." But they don't remember falling asleep, and they're realizing like, "Oh, what's with these masks? Why are they all wearing them?" And then we have this person on coming on screen from static, and he's like, not so fast. I wouldn't do that. I've rigged them to explode if you try to remove them. I'm Jinjag. And as soon as I saw this, I was like, this is a Saw reference. This whole chapter is a Saw reference. And
Yep.
I am just like, I honestly, if this chapter gets animated, I want them to play the Saw theme. I want them to play the Saw theme.
If what are the rights on that? I mean, I know Japan is more
Uh,
loose.
well, here's the thing. Here's the crazy thing. The
And yes, Manga, this is a whole Saw parody this week.
this
Definitely get on Witch Watch if you guys haven't, because I don't know if you guys talk about Witch Watch, but
yeah,
definitely one of our favorite comedy series.
I've been all over the week show Jump Talk today. What does that mean?
Probably watching other streams that people talking about Shonen Jump.
Okay, all right, fair enough, fair enough. Then I guess I'll have to keep tagging you when we go when we go live next time. We're talking about Witch Watch. Basically, if you like screwball comedy, that makes a bajillion references to just about anything, including jeans, then you will love this series.
I guess the closest parallel I can give you is like Gintama, because the author of the mangaka of this series actually was an assistant for Gintama, and actually made a reference towards that like 2 weeks ago. So,
Yeah.
yep.
But anyway, going back to the Saw theme, there was there was a series that came out years ago, and for one of the trailers that they did for it, they used the Saw theme, and that was on like a public broadcasting service. So I guess you can easily get the rights to it if you want.
Oh, okay, cool. Then yeah, absolutely. So yeah, then he does the iconic now let's play a game together. And even more, he's like, is this what I think it is? Yep. Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
Everybody knows exactly what's going on
yeah.
because we have a freaky mask, creepy voice modulation, and orders from the other side of a TV screen. We're inside a death game.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, Japan loves death games. And I was watching a lot of death game anime in recent years too. Danganronpa being one of my favorites. And so I love that they're parodying it, especially the angle they take this one.
Is Death Parade a death game series?
Death Parade. Wait, that's the one where people are like after they pass away, they're kind of see where their soul goes. That one.
Yeah, yeah.
No, that one. No, that one's a bit different. Like Death series are more like Glen Paneer, if you've seen that one, or
Okay.
there's a couple other ones. Darwin's Game is another one that's came out recently.
Uh,
I think the big one is Battle Royale. That's the iconic thing that
Yeah.
arguably started a lot of it. But,
Well,
yeah.
I would say as well the big one at the moment on
Oh,
Netflix.
it's Knox. Okay. Sorry, I was just wondering who was actually watching us from Project Manga. It's Knox. Hey, Knox.
Oh, it's Knox. Hey, Knox. I was good. What was I going to say? What's the name of the series on Netflix that's basically a death game?
Oh, that could be a lot of stuff. I don't know.
Really,
you mean Squid Games? Yeah, Squid Games. Absolutely.
That's it. That's it. Squid Games. Yeah. But I will say, I've not seen the series Death Parade, but I will say that theme song for Death Parade has to be one of the happiest, like cheeriest, energetic themes for what I believe is supposed to be one of the darkest anime.
Yeah, I still have to watch that one myself, so I haven't seen it. But it's on my list. I've heard nothing but good things.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's probably get back to the series.
Yeah. So we have Kengo, Cole saying, "Oh, if this is a joke, it ain't funny. So who's doing this?" And the mask guy is like, "Hey, come on! All I want to do is play a serious game. That's why I've chose the four of you and took her as my hostage." Her being referred to Nico, and she's like, "I'm sorry, guys, I got caught, but she's not." Okay, this should have clued us up right away that something was going on because she's not really very convincing here. She's like, "I'm sorry, guys, I got caught."
I mean, I was thinking about it, but at the same time, it's Nico, so it really could go either way. Because, like, at first, and I think it's also like I said last stream, I was hoping for a more serious arc. Going back to one of these, I was hoping that maybe we're gonna get something serious. So that might be why I ignored all the clues intentionally. There's a lot of clues, especially even just the reference to like what's going on, that who is behind all this. We'll get to that. second.
Yeah, we'll get to that. So the mask guy's like, "Oh, watching from a different room, always watching. Try to break my rules or break down the rules, and I'll detonate your masks. Consider it life forfeit too." And Maury's just trying to figure out what's going on here, but he's like, "Okay, Nico's in danger. I've got to make sure she's all right." So he's like, "Fine, I'll play your game. I'll go along with it. What have we got to do?" And the mask guy's like, "Good. I'm glad. I feel like he should be saying, good. I'm glad somebody gets it."
Yeah, that's what I was reading it as too. And then they make a reference to the game called it Ouroboros. And for those who don't know what it is, I mean, they kind of explain it. Ouroboros is basically like a cosmic serpent who's so long that it's consuming its own tail. It's part of like Norse, is it? No, Greek mythology. Greek
Yeah, yeah,
mythology.
yeah.
And yeah, I kind of like a lot of the serpent theme that they have this chapter because there was a time when I was also writing a story with a lot of mythical serpentine creatures. So that's the big thing I enjoyed from this particular chapter.
Okay.
And anyway, I do like how the next thing he says, like, "Oh, speaking is particularly forbidden from this game," and I was like, okay, well, that'll be good for the translator.
Yeah, definitely for the translator because just Project Manga, if he's still here, one thing you've got to know about Witch Watch is that it has that distinctive Hunter x Hunter style of writing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, basically, if you ever read the comments from Manga Plus for this series, like half of them are just like us giving our gratitude to the translator for all their hard work and the letterer as well. Because my God, this can get text heavy.
Yeah,
But it's all funny.
it's
Anyway,
all
so then
yeah.
we
Yeah, go
okay.
ahead.
Anyway, continuing onward, basically, Jig Jag, I have to be careful not to call him Jigsaw, but Jig Jag is basically saying, okay, it's a 4-person board game, and the 4 of you are snakes and each get a snake god name. So Moy gets Apep, that's the Egyptian snake god who's trying to eat the sun. Then we have Khan, who is Iluyanka, and I do not know who that is. We might look that up later. Kego is Naga, that's a serpent from Indian mythology. And then Miharu is Python. I thought Python is just a regular snake, but I guess this might be something from some other mythology. I guess named
Possibly.
Python. Which series again? Witch Watch got? Yeah, Witch Watch has like what Luke was saying is in terms of its dialogue, it can get extremely text heavy like Hunter x Hunter. But in terms of the vibes, what I was saying earlier is Gintama is the series that this reminds me a lot of because the mangaka for this series was an assistant on um, Gintama and referenced it a little while ago. So this series loves to make references to other Shonen Jump series, and
Yeah.
yeah, and it's like Sky said, it has all the vibes. It can kind of take whatever tone it wants because this mangaka, I think, at one point just said, "Yeah, I'm just going to write about whatever I want."
Yeah. Also to just go back to Python, in Greek mythology, I'm just looking at the Wikipedia here. Python was the serpent, sometimes represented as a medieval style dragon living at the center of the earth.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Okay,
and it
and
was believed,
apparently Ilyanka is from Hiti mythology.
and it was believed to be to be killed by the god Apollo at Delphi. Python.
Got it. So it's one of the monsters Apollo killed. Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Hiti mythology. Where's Hiti? Oh, it's from Iran. Okay, so that's Ilyanka. Yeah. Okay. This got it. Yeah. Then you'll probably enjoy the series then if you enjoy text
yeah,
heavy.
yeah. There's like I've just got to say right off the bat here, Project Manga. There is a teacher in Witch Watch who is a mega otaku, and whenever there's a chapter with her, there's like so much text that it overlaps other text. That's how insane this series is.
Yep. But yeah, good luck with that. We all got through those chapters, but they are so
Yeah,
much fun.
yeah.
Anyway, so then we see a board drawn into the ground, and Jig Jag asks each of them to get into a corner. And then he said, I took the liberty of downloading a dice app of my own design onto your phones, and I can see all your rolls. And basically, all these dices represent evil and they'll be called vices. And there's 9 different types of vices. And I'm just going to quickly sum them up. Basically, there's a normal dice, there's an even dice, there's an odd dice, and then there's 1 dice for each of the 6 numbers. So basically, there's like 9 total dice, and they each have like weird names associated with them to kind of indicate their numbers. And then they go on to explain the rest of the rules, which is that everyone moves in a counterclockwise fashion. And then and then if a snake, or one of the players reaches another player on the same space, then that snake is considered devoured and eliminated. And so since this whole thing is about running around and chasing after, he basically does this whole cliche. I thought this would be the perfect game to play with friends, as tightly bound as you for.
Yeah.
Very cliche villain speech there. And everyone just has serious expressions. Anyway, Jigjag keeps going on to explain the different symbols on the board itself, because there's a lot of rules for this game. There's
Yeah,
a
there
plus
is.
sign for this saying you'll coil up, which just means lose a turn, a triangle, which means you'll reverse direction. And then he says on the 5th square, you'll reach a cross in the board, which allows you to travel to a different direction on the board. And this is the part where even the character's like, oh my God, he's blabbing on forever.
Yes, I know. It's this is what we love about this is what we're getting about of just how meta this series is. Like even the characters make fun of the cliches, like the cliched villain speech.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, and then he finishes up talking at least, and then immediately, I think this is Miharu who says, "Wow, okay,
Miharu,
is
yeah.
it just me, or are there plenty of loopholes on those rules?"
Yeah.
And then Jigjag's like, "I said, don't talk. Start rolling dice."
And then they start getting into the game, and Mori is like, "Oh, looks like Karshini skipped his next turn. This game doesn't need much strategy for this. So if I pick up the fice that tends to roll sixes, and that's that." And then he keeps carrying on, and he immediately um, gets Kengo, and the title of the chapter is. Are you ready for the title of the chapter of this, guys? We got trapped in a death game, but it sucked.
Yep. And that is the twist of the series of this chapter. Basically, it's a death game where you got forced to play in said game, but the rules are so bad that the game is just not fun to play at all. And then
Yeah,
immediately afterwards, despite the no talking rule, Khan's like, okay, forget this. Seriously, I lost in 2 turns. And then Jigjag's like, no, that was a fluke. It's like, no, it's not. These rules suck. And this could have easily happened. And he's just like, and then he's like, snakes eating snakes, more like trash eating garbage.
I love this
It took
because
hours to explain unnecessary rules, and we finally get started, and the game's over.
yeah, and I love this because it's just like a parody of a Saw film. If the characters were not in a life and death situation, they just turned around to Jigsaw and be like, "Jigsaw, this game is crap."
Yep. And Sky said, yeah, I also agree. The title being shown 10 pages in was great. Even Shonen Chill, they haven't really been feeling the Witch Watch chapters lately, but even they said it's like the title drop was hilarious. And yes, the title drop is probably like the best joke here because immediately you understand why we waited, and like the comedic timing was perfect. Anyway,
Yeah,
and then Khan's like, I didn't say anything about these dumb rules before because you're trying to be all serious and it would ruin the mood. And if you're reading the chapter, you could see all they had serious faces while he was explaining all this nonsense.
yeah,
But he's like, no, these rules are dumb and we're not playing this game anymore. And then I think this is like the page where I definitely started picking up something is wrong, because we can see Nico in the background just being like, I'm kind of, this isn't going the way I expected.
this is going the way I expected. And of course, you could if you look at their face, if you look at their hair, you can tell who's behind this.
Yeah, but I also like the way that kind of hid it from us as well. But we'll get into that once the reveal comes in. Anyway, so then he immediately says, um, okay, basically they just keep making fun of his rules and the game. And then he's like, they were like, it's not entirely unredeemable. If you could tweak some of these rules, and it could be half decent. And then immediately he's like, Mihiru's like, zigzag, it's jigjag. It's like, whatever. Do you mind if we streamline the rules? And then once he said that, I was like, wait, what do you mean? What are we doing?
Why are we doing this? You're in a a quote unquote death game, and you want to streamline the rules to make it more
Yeah.
like a death game.
And just like Miharu, he's basically just like saying, "Listen, your game sucks. This is not the time to be prideful about it." Because Miharu is like a very blunt character, as we've
Yeah,
learned. And then he immediately decides to say, he actually points out some other rules that are problematic, as he noticed earlier. Because, like, okay, what if someone reverses direction and catches up with them? Who would be swallowed by whom? So he's just like, okay, we're just gonna help make this game more interesting. And Jig Jag's like, okay, I'll leave it up to you.
yeah, and then we get
And
a
then,
Romulus revision meeting, and everyone's just sitting down. It's just like, wait, why? And you just feel like, wait, why are we sitting down to revise the rules of this game?
yep, and that's the second fun twist of this. So basically, imagine a death game that sucked. You complained about it, and then we're like, we could make a better death game. And then the mastermind was like, oh, yeah, you know what? You guys try it. You think it's so easy.
Yeah.
And so then immediately they're like, okay, let's just get rid of all the rules that are completely unnecessary. And then they're like, let's dump everything that reeks of middle school, which immediately starting with the snake god. I admit that one kind of stung because I enjoyed the snake god names.
Yeah, I like the Snake God games. Keep that rule in.
But I mean, I will admit Khan does have a point that they're hard to remember. And he's like, everybody already knows my name. Why would anyone call me something else? And then the other thing is, I will admit is important, is the dice. The dice didn't make any sense because there's like 9 of them, and like one of them is just like a normal dice. Then we have evens, odds, and just like each of the numbers. So basically, you can just roll whatever you want. That was like, this was a very horribly thought out mechanic. It
Yeah,
didn't make any sense. So that was fair. And then they mentioned the reverse snake rule, when they're like, okay, but then if a snake is eating another snake, how do we know which one gets swallowed? And they're like, it should always be a snake devouring the other snake's tail. That's the theme of the story. And that's where we get Moy getting really into the concept of the theme of we always need to be moving in the counterclockwise direction. That's how we get the theme of the game going.
yes, definitely.
So,
And then,
they,
yeah,
I'm just going to speed explain these rules again.
okay,
Basically,
go ahead.
Moy's suggestion. Yeah, I'm talking a lot, but just because most of this chapter is explaining the rules of a make-believe game.
Yeah, go ahead.
So then, Moy, they kind of have a problem with like what we just had happen where Moy caught up with Khan, and then immediately the game was over. So then they tried to find a way to get the movement to work. So they're first like, okay, well, what if you can move back spaces or something? He's like, no, we have to keep moving in this direction. So what if instead we have the snake move past and skip a space, and then all of a sudden the hunter becomes the hunted? And honestly, I thought that was a pretty cool rule because immediately there's consequences for rolling too high of a number as well. And
Yeah,
then they talk about the cross bridge. And then while this is happening and they're figuring out the best way to deal with the cross bridge, he's like, hello, you do remember I'm right here and have the witch, right? Okay, you can take on the rest of it because I know this was your chapter of the week.
yeah, yeah. So then we have Moe saying like, okay, so after discussing things here, the new rules we've revived on, and the mastermind is like, well, that was reasonably effective. Okay. First players will use coins as their game pieces, and then he's just like, it's just turned into a regular board game.
Yep, they pretty much decided not to even bother having people.
Yeah. And then they're like, they only use 1 dice, and then they all proceed in the same direction. The cross bridge was removed, but if the player lands exactly on a corner, they can choose to warp to the opposite corner. And then he's like, oh, you're just overhauling everything. So he complains and complains and complains, but then they're like, when one snake devours another, the player stacks their coins like this, and it becomes a 2-headed snake. And then the mastermind is getting into these new rules himself by going, oh, that's a cool idea. And then they go 2 snakes move twice the number of squares they roll, 3-headed ones, so 3 times the number. And he's like, oh, you're adding power ups. I love a good power up. Yeah, actually that is a pretty good rule, to be fair. And then they continue on like, these rules keep the game moving quickly even after players get knocked out, making it more thrilling the closer it gets to the end. And then he's like, oh, I trust your feelings. And then they're like, oh, does it sound interesting? Let's play it and see how it works. And and the mastermind's like, "Oh yeah, you can do it. Let's go on and roll the dice." And then they're like, "Oh, you can dish that lame phrase right now." And they're like, "Okay, fine. Are we done here? Can we actually play this game now?" And then Mario remembers like,
Not Mario
"Oh
Khan.
no, no, it is Maru who says, if I recall,
Oh,
didn't they?
Miharu. Oh, sorry.
Miharu, yeah, Miharu's, and then they're like, oh wait, actually, we're meant to be saving Nico here, and then Nico is immediately in the room right after that.
She's like, I wanted to play the game too, so I decided to come out.
Yeah, and then they're like, wait a minute, weren't you a hostage? And then Mori starts to figure out, like, yeah, something is going on here, and he was keeping a witch tied up with a simple rope, and how could one guy put 4 other people to sleep and move them without at all using magic? So it's revealed that Nico was pretty much one of the people behind all of this and was tricking them the whole time. And then it turns out that the one person that's not been speaking this whole chapter is Keigo, and then it's revealed like, oh, the person in the room with them was a copy of Keigo, and Keigo was the mastermind behind it the whole time.
Yeah, so this is where we get into this part of the twist. And yes, guys, that if making this game IRL, the series is just producing products for itself to be sold. But what I like about this is another classic Shinohara style story where he left clues for us, like Keigo not speaking this whole time. The fact that this whole thing was just a giant movie reference, which is a very Keigo style thing to do, and of course the designs of the characters by themselves all fit Keigo. But then it's like, well, Keigo's with us in the room, so how could that be? And then the answer is, from a previous chapter, we learned of a spell that makes copies of people. So honestly, I think this was a pretty good setup. And I think the best part about all this is the reason Keigo decided to kidnap all his friends and put them through this whole ordeal is just to put hidden cameras everywhere and make it into a YouTube video. Because the first time we met him, this guy was a YouTuber, but we haven't heard about his YouTube career in a while.
I know, and apparently this did really well.
Yeah, I mean, I would watch this. Like, I mean, just imagine watching someone like put a death game like on YouTube, but then it's like, oh, it's not really a death game. This is just a prank gone wrong.
Yeah, and he literally tells the video, I tricked my friends into a death game, but they refers the heck out of it.
Yep, and Keigo got a lot of views, and so yeah, this is classic Witch Watch. We don't know what's going to happen next chapter because they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, they can do whatever they want. Like, I honestly could see this series lasting until chapter 400 at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Gintama, I think, in a much similar vein, just lasted as long as it wanted on randomness plus some plot. So this series could do the same if Shinohara really wanted to. I don't know what he has planned for the series, but I feel like he has more plans. He's just having fun right now.
Yeah, he's just having a blast. Like, if this chapter is anything to indicate by.
Yep.
But
And so, Knox, if you're still here, hopefully we sold you on Witch Watch. And I think this is probably one like the best series you guys aren't reviewing. And if you are still here, or for anyone else who might still be in the chat, suggest what we should talk about next, because I think we got a lot of like the newer series out of the way so far.
also, I'm curious if Nox is still here. Are you reading Akane? And if so, what do you think of it?
Yep. So, guys, see if what other series you'd like us to talk about, and because we don't have Black Clover this week.
No. So we only have.
So what we have left.
We only have Undead Unluck, My Hero, Mission No Sakura, and Aikashi Triangle.
Okay, those are usually the bigger ones. I mean, if no one has anything else, we could, of course, talk about Aikashi.
Yeah.
Oh, and one more thing I guess I want to say with Witch Watch, or specifically the mangaka. I recently made like just like a random quick TikTok video with his Shinohara's previous series, Astro Lost in Space, trying to say it's like, hey, you guys should go read or watch this series. And surprisingly, for like a random thing I put together in just a few minutes, it got a lot more views than I thought. So that was unexpected. I'm glad there's at least a fan base for Shinohara's work out there.
Yeah. So I guess no one is suggesting anything. So I guess we can move on to talk about Ayakoshi.
Sounds good.
So
Let's see.
first thing I've just got to say about Ayakoshi is congratulations, we're finally getting the volumes released. It was about
Oh
it
yeah.
was it was bound to happen. Seven Seas are the ones doing it, so it was we kind of figured that they were going to be doing it, and we're getting the uncut ones, meaning we'll get the forbidden chapters.
Ooh. So yeah, I'm glad someone else took that license. I think a similar thing happened with Yuna and the Hot Springs before.
Yeah,
So I guess some series are just too much for Viz, but for some reason they still are out here translating chapters. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know what's going on with it. So let me just quickly check. Yeah, they're still translating chapters, but Seven Seas are going to be the ones publishing it for some
Yep.
reason.
And I think they're still the same translations from what I've read online. So it's still kind of weird to me. So visit 17 like, you guys don't want free money? Okay, we'll take it.
Yeah. Sky said, "Yeah, I'm going to get the. Oh, I am getting the volumes because no series should have their chapters skipped, no matter what."
Yeah, and also we're gonna have an anime, so I feel like that series will do very well if the anime picks up. So I think it's a good
Yeah,
time to get the license.
yeah. So anyway, going on to the chapter, like many of the chapters this week, it picks up right from the last one, where we have
Oh,
um,
Kodashi doesn't have Tokyo Revengers. I didn't know that.
oh,
That's interesting, Size. But yeah, go ahead, Luke. Sorry.
yeah, where we have Shoga's sister saying like, "Oh, Matsui, you should become his boyfriend. You should become his girlfriend. If you do, my brother, he won't be awkward around girls anymore, and my perfect brother will be even more perfect." And I'm just thinking like, okay, is this sister a brocon or something?
This I feel like this is like as close as you can get to Brocon without actually being Brocon. I think that's what they're going with this, but we'll get to that near the end of the chapter. I think that's where I can probably
Okay,
talk about that a little more.
uh,
But yeah, basically, Soga immediately shuts his sister up because this is embarrassing,
yeah,
and then he kind of drags her away, saying like, "I can't believe you did all this." And he's like, "Yeah, well, Dad was cheering for you guys
yeah,
too."
yeah.
I'm
Also,
like,
I just want to say quickly, I like the title page of just you got her, you got what's the name? Higher
I,
with the ninja stars, and then Shogo with his like arm blade.
Yep.
Yeah,
And actually, not when you said arm blade, that reminded me of when we were thinking Dora was going to have an arm blade with
yeah,
Kusanagi.
yeah,
But anyway, so basically, uh, Ponosuke is also trying to ship them as well,
yeah. So
but it is
everybody wants this ship to happen except for Suzu.
yeah, pretty much. A lot of people are cheering for this one, except I guess also Rio, who's of course cheering for herself.
Yeah,
But then Haya, he says, Haya, what I'm mad about is that you tried to use Kazumaki to fix my personal issues. And I'm like, yeah, that's actually a fair thing to get mad about.
hmm.
And then he also says something about ninjas reigning in the shadows, your training gear has no stealth function. And then she just runs away in like a huff of anger. And I like how Ponosuke is like, he's so kind, yet can't get a girlfriend. Something's not right with this world.
And
Because he asked Ponosuke to look after his sister.
Panosuke, we all feel sometimes. Like you can be so kind in this world and yet not get a girlfriend. It's like, what is wrong with this world?
Continuing onward, so then we see Haya like trying to hit a piece of paper with shurikens and doing a very bad job. And then immediately she's just talking about it goes into a flashback with her brother. I guess this is when she really started to care about him or something because there's this random Ayashimon or not Ayashimon,
No,
Ayakashi.
Ayakashi, just
Ayakashi chasing her, and then Soga saves her with shurikens and stuff. But I also like how he also has like a little grasshopper, like pet with him. It's kind of adorable.
I know, but
But from a lore
also,
perspective, it's interesting. He brings up that this is an EO, and so EO has been like appearing a lot more frequently, even as when they were children.
That is very interesting. It might have something to do with that group that Lucy mentioned a few chapters ago.
Oh yeah, yeah, we were talking about that. Still waiting for that to come to fruition.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and yes, guys, let's see. Well, let's see. Exorcist manga in Jump. I mean, right now we have this, and we have Blue Exorcist has been on break for like months.
And Blue Exorcist is not Jump.
True. Well, I guess it's yeah. And then let's see, what else do we have? I guess we have Jujutsu Kaisen, which yeah, that's exorcism. Uh, what else do we have?
I don't know.
I can't think of anything else, guys. If I'm missing something, let me know. I'm probably missing something, but I don't think that's too many. I mean, we had Phantom because Phantom Zero got axed, and then Bone Collection got axed. So at this point, there's not too many. I think.
Yeah. Um, but anyway, going back to the chapter, we
Oh,
have
yokai. Yeah, 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 yokai. Yeah, I think he meant when I said Ayashiman versus um, Ayakashi. Yeah, there is a lot of yokai series.
oh, okay, fair enough,
There's
fair enough.
curses in Jujutsu Kaisen. Yeah, it gets really weird. But whatever, it's always a monster in some other series that the protagonists have to fight. So I'm not too bothered by it. Even Duran Duran has like Mononoke.
Yeah.
Um, so
Um,
then Toga's like, "Don't you lay a finger on my sister?" And then I think that's when her Brocon's feelings begin, because she gets this blush and everything, and she wants to become a ninja like her brother, but she still can't hit a target at
yeah.
all.
And she even takes the stars that he used when he was a kid.
Yep, that's also true. And then Panosuke is like, unnecessary emotion will weaken your skills. And he's tries to be all cool, like, I always practice what I preach. She's like, you're also distracted. What are you talking about? And then we see the kunai fly off. And then slowly we see Shadow May walking by, and she gets the kunai straight to the bed.
Yeah, and they think like, "Oh my god, we killed someone!" And they're like, "I didn't do anything wrong." And then they realize, "Oh no, wait, this is Ayakashi energy." And Shonen gets really pissed off, and it's like, "Yeah, I was gonna hang out with Matsuri and Susu, but this may be a chance for a different kind of fun." And they're just getting freaked out by her. But here's the
First time we've seen her like that in a while. But yeah,
yeah,
go ahead.
here's the crazy thing. Panosuke should know what she's like.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. So I'm glad you brought that up because like there's no reason he shouldn't have known that unless it's just like she from a different angle he didn't recognize her. But otherwise he should know exactly who this was.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I guess
but
he
I am
mistake.
glad we get like another panel with Shadow May looking serious like this because it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. But I mean, I guess he might have thought it was Suzu.
Maybe, but then he would have probably at least said Susie or something.
Yeah,
But
probably.
then Haya, who is not an idiot, immediately picks up on the fact that this is Shadow May, and then she tries to get for a knife, but then Shadow May apparently just like destroys the knife. And I actually kind of like how they showed that because we forget how powerful Shadow May actually is.
Yeah, yeah,
The fact that she can so easily take out even a semi-trained exorcist is like pretty impressive, honestly. Like she's doing this effortlessly, and then Haya calls out for her brother, and you think for a second her brother like saved her with the shurikens until you realize that it was actually Matsuri, who was just who was there because Shadow May called out to her, and
yeah.
then she's like, "It's not my fault. She's the one who attacked me."
Which she's not wrong.
She is not wrong. But Matsuri also makes a good point. It's like, okay, I'm not letting you hurt her. And then she's like, even if it means going up against me. And he's like, yeah, I guess so. And then she's like, so our friendship comes to an end here. And for half a second, I honestly thought we were about to throw down. I honestly thought we were about to get.
Yeah, I honestly thought we were going to do that until we get Suzu coming in with like, "Hey, May, we've got these crepes here. They're really delicious from Sakura Farms." And then immediately, Shadow May's like, "Oh, you got, oh, you and your sweets," and she's just like on a bench with Suzu, and she's like, so sweet. Like immediately from really threatening to like, this is the life. And I love Shigeru's reaction. It's like, oh, these two are just idiots.
Yep. And then Matsuri basically explains, okay, well, we prefer to deal with Shadow May this way without going to fight her, probably because she's too powerful to fight right now. And then
Mhm.
she basically says, like, try not to make your brother worry too much. And then immediately she says thanks, and then goes, I get it, Soga. I've only been looking at Kazumaki as someone who might be useful to you. And this last page, I guess, kind of gets what I want to talk about. Now I know truly that I want Matsuri to be my big sister. So this was, I honestly thought for a second with the last page, this was going to be another addition to Matsuri's harem. Now,
I know. I was thinking, like, is this going to be like a Ayakashi triangle between Shoga, uh, Haya, and Matsuri?
yep, yet another triangle. But no, she apparently just wants her brother to get with her even more now. Which this is kind of where I meant by this is as close you can get to a Brocon without being a Brocon. Because, like, if we look at Yozakura, which maybe we'll talk about after we finish this, maybe. And then with Yozakura, we had, why am I blanking on his name? The older brother. Uh,
Koricho.
okay, Koichiro, yes, thank you. Yeah, Koichiro, he was never in favor of Mutsumi getting close to anybody, but here we see that Haya wants her brother to get with Matsuri, not just to get him more comfortable with girls, but just in general wants this to be. Oh, I want this to be my future sister-in-law, and I'm just like, okay, so you like your brother, but not to the point where it's really creepy.
Yeah. Which I'm glad. For which they really could have done in this series.
Yep. So yeah, that was basically the end of this chapter, effectively. So we're finished with, I guess, all the Soga chapters, hopefully now. So I'm hoping we move on to a different character.
Yeah, we
Maybe,
need
what was her name? Yayo?
Yayu and
Maybe,
Lucy. We need a chapter with them too.
yeah, because we still need to get their situation sorted.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's our prediction for Ayakashi. It was a decent chapter, kind of what I expected, but nothing too special, honestly. Like you said, a lot of chapters this week were kind of set up.
Yeah. And since we brought up Machine Sakura, we might as well talk about it, since it seems like Sky said is has left Koricho the goat. Yeah. Because I feel like we should talk about this chapter.
Great. Yeah, let's pull that up then. Where is it? There it is. Okay, so I'm writing down the time. So, Mission Yozakura Family, Chapter 123. 123. By Association President Kai Izumu.
Yeah. So chapter picks up with Kai introducing himself to Tayo and getting really up close and personal.
Yep.
Tayo feels like he's being swallowed by his gaze, which I will admit he does have a pretty seductive gaze right there.
Yep.
Oh, maybe that has something to do with Oh, I thought. I've got a theory. I've got a theory about Kai, which we'll talk about. When we get later on into the chapter. But that eye, there's something that has to be something going on with that eye.
Yeah, especially because they draw the parallels between his scarred eye and Tayo's.
Yeah. So
Anyway, so then he mentions that he really attacked his own brother. Kuichiro is just awful, and then kind of talks about how the injury on his finger is there, where he's like, his threads hurt you, but it didn't mean to do that. He was just slightly off, and that's rare for him to make that kind of mistake. So then he basically said, it's like, so he must have been under extreme distress in order for that to have happened. And he was pushing himself too hard to keep you from noticing the truth. And then Ty is just like, wait, what? How do you know all this? And he's just like, yeah, no, this is just a thing I can do. And then he says, Kirichiro saw my potential and wrote me into this business and never managed. He would get me all the way up to president, which is kind of the thing I want to talk about, because apparently the reason that Kai is the president of the whole spy association is because Keiichiro made him do it because he's like, I don't want to do it, so you do it instead. So
Yeah,
how much power does Koichiro have in the spy world if he can just do something like this? He must have a lot
must
of
have,
power.
yeah, he must have a lot of power. So there is something going on with Koricho. Like might he might actually have total authority over all spies.
Maybe he has like a lot more authority than we thought.
He might
So
like here's what I'm thinking. Because he might not be a gold rank. That might just be him going down to the level of other spies, but he might actually have a rank higher than gold. And the only thing that I can think of that's higher than gold is platinum.
yeah, no, I was thinking the same thing. Maybe something to keep in mind for later. But anyway, Kai brings up the fact that Kuchar always brings these snack cakes to him every time they went to confront the family heads. But this time he brought you instead, so he's trying to say I should help you out. But don't worry, he'll be back for sure. I know because I've known him for a long time. And Tayo, just like us, is very surprised that Kuchiro had a close friend like this.
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's like, wow, Koricho, somebody actually put up with Koricho.
Yep, which is something because even Kai's like, yeah, I think we're kind of friends, maybe. At least we've been hanging out since middle school. And then that takes us to a flashback.
Yeah, which I'm surprised. Which I'm surprised that Koricho, even in his younger days, was pretty much like how he is. Well, I'm not surprised now that I think about it. um, we have Kai saying, "Oh, what's wrong, Koricho? If you don't get changed quick, you'll be late for gym." And Koricho's like noticing, like, "Oh, you knew about my hand, didn't you? I wear fake skin over it to hide my scars." So, are these scars from when he was using his spider thread?
Possibly. It could be from when he was training all that time as a kid, trying to learn how to use the thread. But the fake skin was about to come off. And so immediately, while he was trying to put it to cover it up, he immediately stepped in front of him, specifically in a position so nobody could see Kuichiro putting back on his fake skin. And so Kuichiro mentions, like, hi, I noticed you've been staring at me and not away for a while, but I didn't know you were just concerned about me. And then immediately, as soon as Kai tries to deny the claim, he just gives Kai's entire backstory to us.
Yeah, which is very similar to Taiyo's backstory. So I feel like the fact that he had a similar backstory to Taiyo was the only reason why Koricho didn't uh kill Taiyo, partly for Mutsumi's benefit, but also he probably saw a lot of Kai in Taiyo.
Yeah, it could be the case. I
Because
mean,
if you
it
because if
seems
you
to show
notice,
both the parallels.
yeah, because if you notice, Kai has the same scar even in the flashback.
Yep, he does. And he, of course, lost his family in a car accident. And then, but the difference is with Kai is that apparently he had a brain injury that helped him get superpowers effectively. So he uses external earplugs, contacts, anesthetics, and whatnot to numb himself. And so then Kutros said, sorry for looking into you without asking. I didn't mean to be rude, but this is thanks and an invitation. If you want to know how to suppress your condition and how to make the most of it, come with me and you can have it all. And
Okay,
he
so
just invites him to the spy world.
yeah, and he fights him to the Yosako family mansion because we see him in Shinzo's artillery room, which
Yep.
leads me to believe that Kai has blooming, that because it's established that for an outsider to get the blooming they have to take the blood of is it the blood of the head of the Yosako family?
I thought so.
Yeah, so but I feel like because it seems like they're putting like a lot of emphasis on Koricho being like this special kind of Yozakura, he might have had the ability to do that himself.
I'm not super convinced myself, but okay.
But okay,
Uh,
it just seems like because I'm I'm just thinking I'm just thinking here like there's something going on with their relationship. Like,
Yeah,
so,
I mean that was the thing I wanted to mention. Like I was what again reading Reddit, seeing how people reacting, and immediately, of course, people are already starting to ship these two.
yeah, yeah. Actually, Sky said, what Sky said, it was it. Is it only the head of the Yosakura that can give the blooming to someone? Because if that's, I can't remember if that was the case. Because if it isn't,
Pretty sure
then
that was the case.
but yeah, but still, I'm just thinking like Kai has to have something going on with him. Like
Well, he does. He had a brain injury that
yeah, yeah,
makes him
but
like.
he doesn't. It does. Does it say superpowers?
Well, I kind of just made that up for the sake of brevity. But the
Yeah.
actual thing is that the brain damage causes sensory areas to exponentially develop. His awareness assaulted with chaotic surge of information. Basically, there's certain parts of the brain that are responsible for each of their senses, and they're saying that somehow an accident caused them to improve, which I'm like, this doesn't make any sense, but whatever, I'll go with it. So I
Okay.
just called them
So
superpowers.
okay, Sky says I believe so. Okay, but but then but then why does it seem like Mutsumi has powers like we were established before? So that
Well, no, we said remember that each of the heads they didn't have powers before, but then when
Tsubome, yeah, Tsubumi.
Subomi, okay, yeah. So when she revived them, she gave them powers. So
Okay,
basically, I think it's through her influence any of these abilities are happening.
all right.
Um,
Well, okay. Here's what could have happened. Like, um, Koichiro probably just gave Kai some blood just because he might have wanted to test to see if it was actually true, and maybe it did trigger something in Kai.
I still doubt it just because I think Mutsumi only knew this because her mom told her she was going to be the head. But, you can believe what the theory you want. Because I don't think Kai, I think the thing they're doing with Kai personally is that he's not like a Yozakura, but he is someone who, of course, has close ties through Kyuichiro. And also, his ability as a spy comes from this accident that happened that helped him gain not extra sensory, increased observation abilities.
Okay, all right.
So that's kind of how I took that to be. But
Okay,
anyway, so then he's yeah. Anyway, I'm
yeah,
just gonna
yeah,
keep
fair enough.
going. Basically, he does say that Kuichiro did tell him a lot about his family secrets and stuff, but Kuichiro was probably just happy to have a friend by his side. So he's not entirely sure how Kuichiro feels about him, but he is certain that the only one who could save Kuichiro is Tayo. And I'm not sure exactly how he came to this conclusion, but apparently his reasoning was, "Oh, I saw you use your blooming of 1,000 flowers, and that power can help you save Koichiro somehow." And I'm like, "Okay, sure, I guess that makes sense." I mean,
Yeah,
that's probably what has to happen from a story perspective.
probably. Okay, I've just got to say one thing as well is that I'm glad we didn't go down the gold ranked spy route here.
Oh yeah, that prediction of mine was incorrect, definitely.
Yeah,
But I mean, I also had my prediction in Ayashimon, I forgot to say, was also incorrect because I thought that the second in command would call them out for cheating, but that didn't really happen. So
yeah,
yeah, a lot
yeah.
of my predictions were kind of wrong. But that's how predictions be. Basically, he just says Koichiro can be saved with the power of Hitayu's blooming, and if he faces off against him, it'll open a path. I'm not sure exactly what he means by it, but either way, he's saying, "I felt like I've known you for so long. I'm glad to finally meet you today."
Yeah, this is just like giving me like what there's something going on with Kai.
Yeah, this does. This here, but I don't know what it is.
What if oh oh no right. What if Kai is one of Tayu's relatives that he didn't even know about? And that's why Koricho let Tai live because he saw a lot of Tayo in Kai, both figuratively and literally.
Hmm. Could be. I mean,
Because yeah, go back to that. Go back to pages 8 and 9 quickly.
okay.
look at the panel where Karicho is where Kai's in front of Karicho. Doesn't that smile look like a Tayo smile?
Yeah, no, and I definitely see that. There's definitely a lot of parallels drawn between them. And but I don't know. It could be that they're related, but because we still don't, because I think there was still more to Kai's, not Kai's, Tayo's
Tayo's,
family,
yeah,
because we know that their family took care of that one train orphan girl. So there might be more connection to the spy family than we realize.
yeah,
I
maybe,
will,
and the fact that they just have a similar scar and like, and oh, if you look at the, oh yeah, if you look at their faces are drawn like the angle of their faces are drawn similarly, like too similar. Like if you go to pages 16 and 17, you'll see you've got their faces are drawn like similar facial structure.
yeah, no, I see it. And the author definitely does this on purpose. I'm not entirely sure why yet, because you could be right. There could be a blood relation. That'd be the simplest way to go about it.
Yeah,
But
which
the way
which
he
would
says, "I feel like I've known you for so long." There's got
yeah,
to be
that
something more there.
that just makes me think like they are related. Like that like they're related and they don't know it, and that would make so much sense why Koichiro, even though he didn't like Tayo getting close to Mutsumi, why he didn't immediately like, right, you're out of this family, you're out of this house.
Yeah, and Sky said, yeah, he knew Kai before Tayu, but what Luke's saying is that because he knew Kai before Tayu, he had that emotional connection with Kai that made him go not completely eliminate Tayu from Mutsumi's life early on. Um,
Yeah,
which
that's
we saw that Koichiro was kind of removing people from Mutsumi's life in chapter one.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at here. Like, he sees a lot of Kai in Tayo, and that's what I'm getting at here. Like, maybe Kai and Tayo are related in some way. I wouldn't say necessarily brothers, but maybe like cousins or something like that. Cousins, or an uncle or something like that.
Could be, but we'll have to see. I feel like there'll be more to Kai later on in the story because immediately on page we get a phone call from Futaba, and she goes ahead and says, "Tayo, it's urgent. Stay calm and listen. We hurry to the coordinates that we're about to send you. We got Koichiro surrounded." And I'm just like, "Wait, we already found him?
Yeah.
Okay, that was fast."
Okay. Yeah, I thought this arc was going to go on longer, and you thought that as well. But no, there's something else going on here. Like
Yeah,
this.
but honestly, I'm glad it didn't take too long because I think this is a good place after we got this whole speech from Kai to kind of go here. Because
Yeah.
either one, we were going to do the whole tr- gold rank exam thing, I was thinking, or we were going to do like a whole Taiyu training thing. But instead of doing that, we're just kind of going to go meet Koichiro, which we might still get some training after this fight.
Yeah, but wasn't the reason because of how important Tayu was to Mutsumi? Yeah, that is true. But also, I feel like again, what I'm saying is that because again, I feel like uh, Karicho saw a lot of Kai in Tayo. That was part of the reason as well. Um,
Yeah, which would be kind of interesting. But I have a feeling there's going to be more with Kai later on with these parallels,
which
which I'm
which would
looking
make
forward to.
which would make sense why Creature kind of mellowed out after a while with Tayo.
Yep. So I think that's it for Yozakura. Next time we're going to see this fight with Creature. He's probably mind controlled or something.
Probably.
Because I'm pretty sure they're going to be like, "Oh, Creature, what happened? Explain yourself." And then immediately he's going to either be like, "Say nothing," or he's going to be like, "Run,"
Yeah.
and he can't control himself. It's going to be one of those things.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of those things, yeah. Maybe like the first head, like, well, no, not the first head or the second, maybe the third head of the Yozakura has the blooming of possession.
Mhm. Could be. I mean, we still not actually. Now that I think about it, we still haven't seen Koichiro's blooming. Maybe we'll see
Yeah,
this in the next
yeah,
fight.
that is one of the things that I was saying, that I was thinking like, that was kind of like, even I think Rachel is dead, but I don't think he is as well. And that was one of the reasons, like, we need to still see his blooming.
Yeah.
That has
So
been. I can't believe that's been one of the biggest mysteries for like nearly a year and a half now. Like, what is Creature's blooming?
yeah,
But
so that'll
um,
be exciting next chapter.
yeah, but Tile was very different from how he is now. Yeah, but what I'm saying as well, like as well, like Kai and Tile lost their families in a very similar way. So that's what I'm saying as well. Like, he saw a lot of like Kai's situation with Tile. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying as well. Sky said. So yeah, that was Mission Yosakura. Very interesting chapter. A lot of theories. Let's see if some of them will come true.
So we have Undead Unluck and MHA left.
Yeah. So which one do you want to do?
Let's see. I mean, both neither of them were particularly exciting. So I guess let's just do Undead Unluck. I think I have more to say with that one.
Yeah. Okay. So finally found out what Lucy's ability is.
Yep. But we'll get into that in a second because well, the chapter is called "Your Ability Is," as if to say, "Oh, it's going to be so cool! Okay, you guys can't wait to see this awesome ability."
Yeah.
Anyway, so then uh, we see Seal trying to seal up Andy, and is just basically just torturing him more than actually trying to seal him because he's just like chopping off body parts. It's actually pretty gruesome. Like this is part of the chapter
I
I did really enjoy.
I know this is probably like the most gruesome it's been for Undead Unluck. Because
All
you
right,
actually,
so that we understand. Thanks for sticking around, man. Appreciate it.
yeah. Thanks for sticking around. Yeah, um, yeah, and thank you as well for anybody else who's been in the chat. Really appreciate it.
Yep, definitely. I'm glad to see a lot of new people come in. Anyway, so then we have Seal. Basically, we can actually see on page 2 Lucy's ability is kind of spelled out there if you read it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I couldn't
Yep.
see that when I first read it, but now I can see it now clearly.
Yeah,
So
and I do like how the author does do stuff like that. If they did more stuff like that, maybe the story would work a little bit more coherently. But that's a different story. Anyway, so Seal keeps chopping off body parts, trying to look for a human core. And then after Andy's brain finished regenerating, he or they were like, "Well, you're still going to struggle. That's fine by me. In fact, I'm sure God will be happy about a choot." And literally, after sneezing, Seal was like, "Wait, what? Why do I have a runny nose?" And then Andy's like, "Ha! Well, look at that. Even Umas can catch colds." And then, like, he is very confused, or sorry, Seal's very confused, and then sees the tag, and then that's where we get like the full reveal, I guess, of Lucy's ability.
yeah, which is unhealthy.
Yep. And really?
Yeah, and I was like thinking, like,
Really?
really, we're gonna do? I was thinking, like, so wait, does that mean she eats a lot of junk food?
Yeah, honestly. So basically, she's just immunocompromised. That's her ability.
Yeah, so similar to Foucault's, like anything she touches, immediately makes them unhealthy in a variety of ways, I guess, based on how long she touches them.
I guess maybe. We'll have to find out because right now, well, we'll get into like how exactly Seal got sick when this happened. Anyway, so then Andy says, oh, "In that case, make way. I'm coming in," and he gets himself sealed on purpose.
Yeah,
And then like we see Andy sealed up and undead appearing on the back of Seal's whole outfit. And then Seal's like, "Ha, how weak. Hard to fathom why God sent me to deal with such a mediocre negator." And
and
then he
okay, I've gotta tilt my head about that. Like, Seal, have you seen Andy in the last few chapters? He's been going on a rampage.
I mean, to be fair, I don't know if Seal existed in those last few chapters. I think they just came into existence. But either way, he basically, or they just basically make fun of the other Uma, saying like, "Ha, they were probably pretty too weak." So then he said, as a regulator, I will use my power to unify the Umas, and then looks immediately to the castle and goes, "Ah, so there's someone else." And so basically, Seal's headed over to the ruins castle. And then meanwhile, Andy wakes up inside of Seal, where we see all the other Umas just kind of plastered against the wall. And he said, "Oh, so you were alive. Sorry, you ended up losing." And then Lucy is like, "Thank God you're awake." Then Andy looks around saying, "This is the inside of Seal. I can't move." And Lucy tries to apologize for jumping in. And then she gets all sad and snotty again. And blah, blah, blah. And then Andy says, "What are you talking about? You're way stronger than I am, Lucy." And then I'm like, what? I think that's going a little far there.
Yeah, yeah, that is really going way. Like Andy, Lucy is not on Foucault level.
Yeah, not even on Foucault level. And then he basically formally introduces himself, saying, "I'm the negator of death, Andy the undead." And then he explains what a negator is, and he says, "You're a negator too." And she's like, "Oh man, really? I got superpowers? What's my superpower?"
I love that. I love that because like she's like a kid there. Like, oh, you've got this super. Oh, I'm gonna have this big badass superpower, and then it's like, what is it? Tell me, tell me, tell me. And then Andy like hypes her up too much. It's like, okay, get a load of this, Lucy. You are the negator of any and all forms of healthiness in yourself. You're unhealthy, and then it's like, no, I'm physically frail.
Yep. And
So,
then he's like, "Yeah, pretty much. There's that's the thing."
yeah, yeah. So again, it's pretty much a Foucault ability. Oh, that unluck versus unhealthy.
Yep. I mean, I did find it an interesting parallel that her ability is basically being very sick, and Andy's ability is just not dying. So they kind of do work as a fun pair.
Yeah. So I guess Lucy is the new Foucault for now.
I guess. But well, we'll talk more about that in a second. But basically, Andy says like, "Nothing I did was hurting Seal at all, but you blindsided him," and that's basically is just saying why Seal got sick. And he said that was a big deal, unhealthy. She's like, "Yeah, then let's trade." And he's like, "No, no, my power's so cooler."
Yeah. Yeah. And then of course Lucy is doing what probably Foucault did so many times, like apologizing to her mom and saying like, "Oh, I'm stuck like this forever," and it's like, okay, save your bellyache for later. I'll hear you out then. But I'm sure as hell can't move. But maybe what's that round thing in the center? Obviously referring to like the flashing blind of lights that's in front of them. And Lucy explains like, "Oh well, you see, if you touch that, you go outside." And it's like, "Oh, wait a minute, what do you mean you've touched it even though you're tied from head to toe?" And somehow I don't know what's going on here with the whole like, so like the trap that they're in sort of like is pulled apart, gets stuck to another, like what is going on here?
You mean with like the walls?
Yeah, with like the
So
Uma.
basically, like Seal like sealed everyone inside of them, and there's a sphere at the very center of like this little cage, this well cage that if they touch it, the power goes outside. And um, unhealthy, Lucy knows this because she did touch the light. And then we see, and then Andy was wondering how that was possible if we're all stuck to the wall. But
Yeah,
then we see with
this is the part I was like confused on with this Uma
right.
down. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so then what happens was then when Seal wants to use one of their abilities, it forces them away from the wall
Oh,
towards the sphere.
right. So then actually he should have known, Seal should have known like what was going on if he used Lucy's power.
Well, hang on. That gets to the last part of the chapter, which we'll talk about because there's an explanation for that. But anyway, so then we see Seal using, I forgot this thing's ability as a kind of thundercloud or something to fly over to Ruin's castle. And he's like, so that's pulls, when your ability gets used, you get pulled away by that thing. So that's how that works.
Okay.
And then Lucy says, "Oh, it seems hot." And he's like, "Seems? Didn't you touch it?" She's like, "No, not really." And then he's like, "But then how did your power get used?" And she's like, "Oh, well, it was really shiny and pretty, so I went." And she closes her eyes for a bit, and her soul comes out and touches the thing.
Oh, right. So that's so. Oh, right. Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
So this is actually the other big thing I wanted to talk about because I'm trying to understand this. So, okay, her ability is unhealthy. And so I guess that means she's effectively on the brink of death. And so because Uma Ghost is now in existence within their universe, this means that she can get her soul to leave her body.
I guess.
That's how I understood this to work because I don't think most people can do this.
Yeah.
So the fact that she can, I think, is part of her ability because she's like so sick, she's almost dead that her ghost can come out and do things.
I guess so.
Also, I like how she was like, this is the other thing I want to say with this page. She was like, "Oh man, what's my superpower? What's my superpower?" It's like, what do you mean? You can like take your ghost out of your body.
Yeah.
That was already a power. What is wrong with you, girl? Like she's really like not very bright.
No.
I don't know what
No.
the mangaka was doing there because if she did this before and she's like, "Oh yeah, I can just get myself out of my own body," then it's like, why were you surprised you have superpowers? What did you think this was? Did you think everybody could do this?
I guess she thought so.
Ah man, Lucy is really dumb. But anyway, that's just how this series is, I guess, sometimes.
Mm.
So then Seal gets sick again. That's how Seal. So basically, as long as Lucy is touching it, I guess Seal is in a weakened state or something.
Yeah,
And then
possibly.
enters Ruin's castle saying, "You're the one who is given power of regulation like me, the one who will be king of the negators." And we see Ruin, I guess, eating somebody or something. So I guess this confirms that Ruin is a regulator, but specifically, Seal is a regulator of Umas, I guess, and then Ruin is a regulator of negators. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess that's how Ruin was able to survive multiple cycles because I think the same way Seal can use Uma abilities, I think Ruin can use other negator abilities, maybe.
Maybe. Maybe. Although one thing I want to say about this is that Andy, this isn't the time to be getting sealed. You're trying to save the world from getting drawn into the sun.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know if Andy has a plan or is just like, I'm going to break out. Because I think Andy's plan is to use Lucy to weaken Seal and then beat Seal from the inside or something. Because if Seal doesn't have access to these powers, then it's basically powerless, right? So I think that's
Right.
Andy's plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, so I think he got that plan because only Lucy was able to affect Seal because she was inside him.
It's
Whatever.
funny. It's funny how Andy conveniently gets involved with the negator that has the perfect counter to what he's going through.
Yeah, but I mean that's how the storytelling works for this series. But
Yeah.
I don't know if next chapter we're going to see these two regulators fight, or if Andy is just going to be like, okay, we're going to take down Seal from the inside and then fight Ruin. What do you think?
Uh, yeah. I don't see that happening. I feel like it'll just be a straight up, possibly for the most part, straight up conversation between Seal and Ruin and whoever this guy is.
Oh, well, I think that guy's just dead. Honestly.
Maybe or uh, unless he is a negator himself.
Yeah, I doubt it. I think that's just a rando. But either way, that was Undead Unluck, I think. Not like I said, this was like more of a setup chapter, just explain Seal's abilities and whatnot, and Lucy's abilities finally getting revealed. That's all this chapter really was.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess we can wrap it up with My Hero Academia.
Yeah, I guess this is just the series we're using to end our streams now.
I guess so. Yeah, but pretty amazing. We've got here quite quickly today because we're only like 2 hours 20 into it.
Yeah, true. I'm surprised too, but it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Uh,
Yeah,
Plus, we got the color page with Miriko, or sorry,
and
Miko and
Miko and
Bakugo.
Bakugo. Going back to my idea, like if Bakugo was a little bit older, I could definitely see these two being together.
Yeah, I was thinking about that when I saw this color page. And Carl saying, yeah, Vigilantes. It was a pretty good chapter. I like what they did, but it's kind of just continuing the story from the current final fight that's been going on. I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah,
And yeah,
uh,
we just have like we talked about basically all the series except for MHA, which we're about to talk about now.
yeah, we're about to talk about now. So now's your chance to write to do your comments, Carl. Yeah.
Uh,
So
yeah, so then we have Deku basically running away from the fight like we saw last time. And he's just explaining how he's using sevenths, float, and thirds, fa jin to go as fast as possible. But while he's balanced, he's still too slow for his taste because he doesn't have Black Whip to speed him up even more because he's over the ocean.
yeah,
There's nothing to
which
grab onto.
which I'm glad they brought that up because I honestly would have been like, okay, if Deku tried to use Black Whip here, I would have been like, okay, Deku, you should know that there's nothing to hold on to.
Yep. But then immediately, I don't know which user this is, which number, but one of the users came in and said, "Don't lose your head; it's clouding your judgment." And he's like, "Your reinforcement can't withstand 100%. You don't want to get hurt before you reach the battlefield, right?" And then he's like, "And also, don't use my meta ability
Okay, who
because
is that?
it's a last
Okay,
resort."
I've got to know like which user this is. All for one users. Like what was it?
No, it's one for all users.
One for all users. Yeah.
Yeah, you do that. I'll just keep going for now. Anyway, so then this one for all user basically says, I think it might be the second, I don't know, but he
Yeah.
said,
It's the second one. I'm looking at it. But
oh, cool, got it. So
yeah, it doesn't say what his ability is.
yeah, because we don't know. They're literally this chapter is teasing it. And yeah, Carl, I agree. The Batman movie was amazing. Loved it. Loved it. I love the arc they had for Batman. I like the characterization, especially for Riddler. And so I'm glad they made this movie. I was a little skeptical of them making like these like Batman and Joker movies that are kind of like outside the DCU while the DCU is still being a thing and made it very confusing, but they're very quality movies. I can't lie.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
the second user, uh, sorry.
yeah. I was just gonna mention Carl's comment. Like, oh, it's fine, man. Don't worry about it.
Oh, I didn't miss that one. Yeah. Yeah, dude, it's fine. Our last couple streams have been pretty long, but they're all in our back in the channel. They're recorded. I have timestamps so you can skip around to whatever series you want in the comments, if you're interested, of course. So then the second user mentions that his ability has gotten a lot stronger because that's the nature of like one for all. Basically, it just gradually gets stronger over time. And since this is like the second user we're talking about, this is the first user who had like an actual quirk. Because the first user, he didn't have a quirk. His quirk was one for all, which was
Yeah.
just passing on the quirk, and storing them. And then, of course, we have, of course, All Might and Deku, who are basically quirkless. So Deku, like the only quirk I think we haven't seen is his, if I remember correctly, because the fourth we see have Danger Sense. The seventh is Float. The third is Fa Jin. Um, fifth was Black Whip. So I don't know. There's like four. One of them was Danger Sense. I think that's four. So then I
Yeah.
think it's just two and six. I don't know if we know six's ability. Oh,
Um.
wait.
we
No,
don't know two's ability. Third is Farjin. The fourth one, Danger Zone. Fifth one, uh, yeah, Black
Blackwood.
Whip. Uh, yeah, we don't. Yeah, we don't know. We don't know the
Okay,
sixth
so
one.
we don't know 2 and 6. So we have two abilities we don't know, basically. And arguably, the second one's supposed to be the strongest one because it's gotten so much stronger, like over the generations. Which basically, that's just Horikoshi's way of saying it's like, all right, I have this Deus Ex Machina ready to go when I need to use it. And so then he basically has some pretty generic speech about having faith in your friends. They're fighting for their own reasons. Focus on your own battlefields. So, yep, basically that's all that was. And then Carl's comment for the latest Vigilante chapters, I have to give props to the way they showed Endeavor. So, sorry, Edge Shots moves along best genius. Oh, when All Might Endeavor showed up, story gets really good. Yeah, so something I've noticed when I was watching Just King's video, I think on the chapter, is that like Edge Shot, like his abilities are very like just being a ninja at this point because he used substitution jutsu, and I'm like, you can do that. So Ed Shot has like a lot of weird powers, but yeah, I will agree. The best genius moment is probably my favorite. Just for reference, Luke basically best genius used all his threads to keep a building from collapsing, so his entire outfit comes undone except for the part around his neck. And all the civilians are like, "Hey, you okay there? You don't have any clothes." He's like, "Yeah, no, it's fine. I'm okay."
Okay, all
It
right.
was pretty hilarious. And then seriously, how much powerful number six gonna get? Horikoshi made this no move. Wait. Oh, yeah, yeah. We're talking about Vigilante still. Yeah, yeah. I don't know if Horikoshi is the one who made six or if that was original creation for that story. But yeah, number six is probably one of the most resilient characters in anime I've ever seen because we've seen so many characters with, oh, I won't die when I get killed or have multiple forms. But yeah, number six is something else. Like Vigilantes, I hope ends before MHA ends because I want to see the main character of that series come in, but I don't think it'll happen until after the series is just about over.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't see vigilantes going on longer than the main series.
Theoretically, you're right, Luke, but man, this final fight has been going on for months, several months.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
And I thought the fight in Black Clover was going on for too long.
Nah, but see, that's at least a weekly series. Vigilantes just comes out, I think, bi-weekly or monthly. So it extends a lot longer. And it's the final fight, so I'm not too upset. It's also been very interesting, but man, it's this villain won't die.
Okay, all right.
But anyway, so then he says, like, Deku, focus on your own battle. And we go back to Ochaku and Froppy, basically. And I like how Froppy, like she was like, okay, it's a good thing Deku's not here. I couldn't stand the thought of a secret my friend holds dear being revealed like that. So I'm like, Froppy, you're saying you did all that to prevent Deku from learning Uraka likes Deku.
Yeah. Well, actually, that is actually a good idea because if Deku knew about that, then that would have distracted him and probably would have he probably would have held his punches.
Yeah, I see what you mean, but at the same time, it's also kind of sad to me that that is also the case.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, we have Toga basically say like, "Oh, I've had enough. Isuku or Choco sue you, but I love you all. But I'm done. I'm ready to be who I want to be. All I want is to live the way that feels right for me." And she mentions twice as well.
Yep. I love this moment for Toga. As then she goes, I'm Himiko Toga and I have no use for heroes, so get ready to say bye bye. And the weird thing is that the next line is Uraka saying, no thanks. I'm also living the way that's right for me as Ochaku Uraka. And I'm like, Uraka, that's not as cool as when you do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like when Toga does it, I'm like, yeah, I'm here for this Toga. When Uraka does it, I'm like, nah, I don't care too much about your character arc.
So how do you think this fight is gonna go down?
I mean, obviously Toga has to lose eventually,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But
That's how
how do you think she's gonna lose?
well, she definitely has to use twice as power at some point. I'm hoping there's no talk no jutsu involved, but with Toga, I can see it happening. Uraka using some talk no jutsu by the end. Froppy's probably going to play a mainly support role. I don't know where the other heroes are. I feel like there should be more heroes around helping them, but I think that's how it's going to go down. Froppy is going to be support. Then Uraka is going to be the main fighter, but then use talk no jutsu to ultimately end the fight after Toga uses twice his power. That's my guess.
Okay.
And
Oh,
yeah, Carl, it's surprising. MHA is almost 350 chapters. That is an
oh
insane
my
number.
word! I've just realised that like one chapter 349.
Yeah, is that pretty crazy? Because like 50 chapters is like a year's worth of story. So that's
Yeah,
like what, almost 7 years worth of chapters?
yeah, it
It'll
is.
be 7 years worth of chapters.
Yeah, I'm still giving it like at least another 40 chapters, so like 390 chapters before the series starts to wind down.
That's I see it ending this year. So I think it's anywhere between 30 to 50. So I'm within the same range as you.
Yeah, yeah. I don't see it going past the 400 mark.
Yeah, it is kind of hard to see it past 400 at this stage, but we'll see. We'll
We'll
see.
see. We'll see. So then we cut over to Camino Ward. It's funny how a lot of the action in the series has taken place at Camino Ward.
Kind of is when you think about it.
Because
Um,
wasn't Camino Ward where the Stain fight happened?
I think so. I mean, I was pretty sure it's where the Endeavor fight happened, but maybe it was also the Stain fight.
Yeah. No. Let me just have a quick look. I'm pretty sure it
Yeah,
was.
you can look it up. I'll read
Camino
Carl's
Ward.
comment in the meantime. Never thought Deku would make a mistake on letting his emotion get the better of him. Had to be told just calm himself before the final battle of AFO and Shigaraki begins. I mean, it kind of makes sense. Deku is like, as they said in the last chapter, he's despite all his victory, he's still like a damn nerd. He's a child. He still acts a bit childish, which I guess is still just part of his character and charm or whatever. But so the fact that adults had to step in and tell him, "Focus, kid, we have the final fight to happen,"
Yeah.
works. But it is also kind of sad that Froppy had to be the one to also set that straight and be like, "Deku, this is not the time for romantic shenanigans."
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
Also, as
look what you
well,
find.
the Camino Ward incident, that was where All Might and One For All had their final battle.
Ah, that was that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of big things happen in this area. You're right. And now we have the Dobby fight, as we're seeing here.
Yeah.
Um,
So we have um Todoroki. Is it Todoroki being attacked by a Nomu?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We see Todoroki, and we see then Dobby just keeps talking about the memories coming back about the battle in Hoshu. Oh, okay. So the battle in Hoshu. That's a
Yeah.
different place.
I'd also question how has that statue not melted?
I
That
don't know.
the All Might statue, like, because it's surrounded by fire. How has that not collapsed?
It must. I don't know what it's made out of. So in this superhuman world, it can be made out of anything that's like fireproof. But anyway, it's like Ida's there, but he can't do anything because of all the fire. So I'm like, Ida, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
I think he has to like either run around, put out the fire, or evacuate people because he can't really do much
I
right
mean,
now.
you could do a swift kick to blow the fire away.
Theoretically, yeah, but he can't really get much closer. And Carl commented, "Man, I know saving Toga may be a lost cause at this point. Goddamn, I really feel bad on how she was pushed to this point. His current interaction with Chaco, the best one yet." Yeah, I definitely feel bad for how Toga got to this point, but and it does feel like in general she would be a lost cause. But I feel like the series is still going to somehow redeem her one way or another. I wasn't too big on this current interaction myself, but I think I might later on as we progress with that particular fight.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
So
page 11.
yeah, so then we have Darby who is floating on fire. That
Yep.
I've got to say that is pretty cool.
I
Um,
mean, it's basically Fire Force, but yeah.
yeah, and he's like, whoops, sorry, just yapping away to myself. I love the fact that he's kind of like being aware, like, yeah, I'm kind of doing the villainous monologue here, and
Yeah, he pretty much is.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, it really bums me out that all I get is Endeavor's third son and his three merry helpers. Is that really his answer to me?" As we see that we have Endeavor's sidekicks, Kido and Onima, and also Burnin are all there alongside Todoroki.
Yep. And so Endeavor basically sent his sidekicks to help out uh, Shoto with the fight because he can't be there himself. And they're kind of just explaining what their roles are here. In the case of Kido, for example, apparently he's just can alter the trajectory of anything, which I have to say is a pretty OP ability.
Yeah,
But
that.
because he's
Go
just
ahead.
making the air swerve around him, and I'm just like, dude, you could probably do all kinds of cool stuff with that power. But whatever. He apparently, I think, is an older hero, considering he's saying he's done this for a whole decade. So he's basically just like, yeah, I'm just gonna be out here being defensive, and then Burning is here saying, like, yeah, Endeavor's family drama is a whole mess, but Endeavor himself has been always a capable hero, so he wants us to help you, so we're gonna you have our full support. And so Shoto, of course, thanks Burning for that. And then he confronts his brother, saying, Toya Dabi, you've got it all wrong. I'm not here on anyone's orders. I'm standing here because I made the decision to stop you. And he's just like, well, good job being dad's perfect little pawn he always wanted. And he's just like, well, if I tried to ignore you and kept trying to be a hero, then that might be the case. He's like, yeah, that's fair enough. I like how Dabi actually said, you know what? That's a good point, little brother. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah,
It was
but
kind of adorable back and forth.
yeah,
But
but
I
also
do
I
like
just want
Dabi's speech. Oh, go ahead.
go. I was just going to say about Kido, the fact that he's called Kido and he's using an ability that is essentially it's essentially keeping the flames away from them. Like, is Bleach a canon manga in the My Hero Academia world?
Uh, that is a good question. I keep forgetting which Shonen Jump universes have actual manga, so I can't tell you for sure. No.
Because it would be funny if that was the case. If that's why he picked Kido, he got it from Bleach.
Could be in reference, but I just don't know. But Carl says burning, calling Endeavor an old fart. Really goes to show how much Bakugo's influence rubbed off on her. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that one came from Bakugo. I always thought Burning just had similar personality to Bakugo, but you could be right.
Oh my god, Miko, Burning, and Bakugo team up.
I mean, I could see it. But and in fact, it might be happening in the spin-off, the other spin-off mangas I don't read, like team up missions. Apparently, Horikoshi is a fan of that one, but I don't feel like reading that one. Like Vigilantes is a prequel, so I'm with it, but I don't really care about the side story missions. I'm not that invested in the My Hero world. But
Okay.
um, anyway, Toya, I like his speech he gives here. This war is all about people involved. It's not mindless soldiers following orders. It's the people, the real movers and shakers are the people who have feelings and urges to start firing off. And so I kind of like how he says like this fight isn't about like most wars where generals are just issuing orders. This is about like people all with their own motivations of who to fight. And he actually even thinks about his own team of characters like Toga and Spinner who want to change the world they live in, or in Shigaraki's case, destroy the warped imbalances built upon over time. We came to just accept. And then he says, Behold the limitations of superpowered society. That's me. That's all of us. And that was just a really great speech. I
Yeah,
just
I
really
I loved that speech from Darby, and I love the fact that he has kind of come to sort of like understand his comrades what they're going through, because in a way he's going through a similar situation of like the world is unbalanced.
yeah. And then Shoto kind of transitions to like the next big question. It's like, okay, now can you give us your backstory, basically? But what he actually asks is, you survived. Why didn't you come back home? But effectively, what he's saying is, okay, cool. Now, can you give us your backstory?
Yeah, yeah. And then Darby's like, "Oh, you really want to know? fine. I'm happy to share. Rotten or not, I'm still your big brother. So basically, I'm saying, yeah, I might be this evil, murdering psychopath, but I'm still your brother. So I guess you gotta know my backstory. So here's the story of how I became Darby and the reason I'm still alive and can tell the tale, even when I never stopped burning hotter than you. His masterpiece. And it seems like Darby is crumbling away more and more in this last panel.
Yeah, and that's actually I think the big thing I want to talk about for this particular chapter, because like this last page for me, I just thought, oh man, this looks so cool. Like very nice work there. Horikoshi showing is literally disintegrating in this fight. Like this fight might just like keel him over just from using his quirk too much. But the other thing some people have noticed is if you really pay attention to the line art, it looks almost so rough and like with so many outlines that this might have not been on purpose. This could have just been Horikoshi running out of time. But I will say, if that was the case, number one, Horikoshi, I hope you're okay and enjoy your break because I think MHA is on break for the next
Yeah,
week.
it is.
And
It is.
yeah, so definitely rest up. But two, this even if that was a mistake, it looks just awesome. I hope
Yeah,
you're okay
it
with
really does. It really does, and it really fits as well.
Yeah, so maybe an accidental brilliance by my hero, which kind of sums up the series in many ways. This series can be amazing when it wants to, by complete accident.
Yeah.
Anyway, then Carl, you had some more comments. Toya Dabi's speech is way more hammered into truth than we had realized. Not only hit the notes how superpower society got fractured to the extent, but also goes to show how much work the heroes really will have to carry on in order to regain the trust of the people. I can't help but think about how the world of MHA is more similar to the DC universe. And yeah, I will agree. I think while there's a lot of Marvel references in MHA, it's very similar to the DC universe in terms of its the connection between what superhuman society is affecting the world. So I definitely agree with you on that one, Carl. I think the big difference, though, is I feel like at least with MHA, I think someone brought this up. I forgot who, but someone brought up that MHA does a lot more in terms of balancing of the optimism of heroism and also showing a lot of the darker sides. Well, I think stories like the DCU, what I prefer about them is that they go more into like the darker human tones of the story more than I think MHA does. But I also don't blame MHA for being that way because it's a shonen manga first and foremost about high school students, while the superhero stories have more adult characters and can focus on more adult themes with their mediums.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree with that. And also, Carl's next comment. Seriously, though, how is that statue not mounted from Darby's flames? I have no idea. That statue, should have melted with All Might's head just flinging to the ground. Also,
Which would have been so symbolic.
yeah, it would have been because it pretty much is the fall of Hero Society now.
Yep.
Uh, Also, Horikoshi, take your time with this arc. Don't rush the ending. Take your time. We have gotten too many stories where.
I think he's finishing up his comment there.
Yeah,
But yeah, definitely take your time. I don't. The character development and story arcs were built properly, but everything did not get proper in conclusion, so many loose ends won't get wrapped up. And yeah, I think that's the big thing. A lot of MHA fans are worried that a lot of loose ends won't get wrapped up. But I'll be honest, I maybe as a casual fan don't know of too many loose ends. I'm too worried about not getting wrapped up, so I'm not too bugged
yeah,
myself.
yeah. I feel like
But yeah, definitely don't
only.
want this to be rushed.
Yeah, I feel like the only loose end that needs to be wrapped up, in my opinion, is who Deku's father is. Like,
Yeah,
why hasn't he come to like, hey, my son did so well in the sports festival at UA. You'd figure his wife would be like, hey, your son's in the sports festival at UA. He did quite well there. Why don't you come and support him?
yeah, but I guess they're just going the whole businessman overseas. I don't know why they went that route. But hey, if it comes up, it comes up. For me, I think the big things I just want is number one, I want the vigilante story to tie in, and two, I want, I guess, something else. I guess I want them to kind of like finish up the stuff with Aerie as well, because I felt like they had something there, but they kind of forgot about it.
Yeah,
Because
and
like Mario,
also
like where even is he?
I don't know. And also, Gentle Criminal and Bravo. I want to see what's happened to them.
Oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, there's some loose ends, but I don't think there's too many, at least for us. But yeah, MHA, I definitely don't want it to rush to the end because, as much as I enjoyed Doctor Stone's ending, I do still say after everything that the last couple arcs, last two arcs, were still kind of like streamlined to just kind of reach the end, perhaps a
Yeah,
little sooner than
and I
we needed
feel
to.
like that was Inagaki being a bit too like, no, it has to be 5 years exact.
Yeah. I mean, he really wanted it to start on issue 14 and end on issue 14.
Yeah,
He's like, listen, I have an aesthetic to keep up.
yeah. I want it to be like this. I don't want to do an older. I feel like that was what it was going through. It's like, don't do it older. Don't do it older. Don't do it older.
Yeah, which I mean, I appreciate. I honestly think it's better to have like a pretty satisfying conclusion
Yeah,
versus like overextending a story.
yeah.
Though I
But
heard the new One Piece chapter was actually good. I haven't read it, but
yeah,
I've heard good.
the One Piece chapter, I'll just quickly go over that briefly. I have very mixed feelings about. And it's not like what happened in the chapter, it's just the execution of it because the whole idea about Luffy as a character is that he has a very weak ability that he's trained with to go on the level of some of the top tier in the series, and now all of a sudden they're saying like, oh, his ability is not this ability, it's actually the ability of a god.
Huh.
Like
Okay, so
now,
we're basically getting like power creep.
yeah, we're getting a power creep so that Luffy essentially has the power of a god. And now it was foreshadowed, like people have pointed it out, but at the same time, I kind of wish they didn't go down that route. Like even if it was foreshadowed, because I just hate that trope when it's like, oh, it's like with Deku, like it like, oh, this character has the biggest power in the universe. Like, oh, this character, it's done basically similar to the Naruto thing. From what I've heard, is that Naruto was weak at the beginning and had to train to get really, really, really strong, and then all of a sudden, oh, he's the reincarnation of a god.
Yeah, and I think Red once pointed out just because something's foreshadowed. Red from Controlled Chaos, for those wondering.
Yeah,
He once said just because something's foreshadowed doesn't make it good. And I think his example was One for All being what it was. Because it's like, yeah, Deku basically gets to be the Ben 10 of his universe and have
yeah,
multiple
yeah,
powers.
yeah,
And
and
it's like, okay, well, your whole becoming the one hero thing is still kind of cool, but not as impressive when your power is I have a lot of powers at
yeah,
once.
and I really don't like the fact that Luffy got that ability. I mean, I can understand why he did it. I just don't like it. So that's my general opinion on the One Piece chapter this week. So yeah, Carl, if you have anything else you wanna say, feel free to say it right now because we're going to be ending the stream in a couple of minutes. And also, uh, be sure to go and check out Control Chaos's Dr. Stone video as well because they're doing it.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Definitely going to watch that soon whenever it comes out.
Yeah,
Is it out already?
I don't think it is. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, they say they're doing it today. So
Yeah, I saw it today. But I don't see it in my sub box yet, so I don't
yeah.
think they put it up. Oh wait, no, I see it.
All right.
Yeah, it was uploaded like an hour ago. So yeah, I
Oh,
guess we'll be
it
watching
was.
it.
Oh, it was uploaded an hour ago. All right. So we'll go and watch that. So hope you guys enjoyed the stream and thank you for all the comments. Really appreciate it. Thank you for everyone that stood by. And until next time, peace.